Welcome, 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 welcome. Good evening, everybody. This is a good one. We're back. New Cal Corner podcast. Anthony, Cold Blooded Gems, Mark, the Gecko Room, and the morph god himself, Andrew
You're too
from
kind.
White Tank Exotics.
Highly anticipated episode, guys. Highly anticipated
Thank you.
episode. Got a lot of
Thank
people
you.
ask for this.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
We paid big money to schedule this.
Oh man, I wish I could have come on sooner and do more and more. I nowadays I just try to just lay low and hide behind the scenes and just breed geckos. You know what I mean? So
Best way to do it.
yeah,
Best way to do it.
Less stress, and you enjoy your craft and stuff
absolutely.
like that.
Yep.
Well, real quick, can you just introduce yourself for the people that don't know your name, your business, and maybe what you specialize in a little bit, just like an elevator pitch of you?
Okay, my name is Andrew Pino, White Tank Exotics. I live at the base of a mountain range called the White Tank Mountains. And so my house is about a mile from where the mountain starts to go up. And so I live on the very outskirts of the Phoenix area in Arizona.
Awesome.
Real quick, I just do basically New Caledonia geckos. Those weren't the first geckos that I bred. I started, my first species that I ever bred was Uroplatus, Fantasticus to be exact, and then kind of switched over to the New Cal stuff and primarily do crested and gargoyles. I tried getting into lychees and kahua and uris and all that stuff, and the amount of time it takes to get those going and stuff like that. Like some of my guard pairs took 4 years before I started getting eggs. It kind of bored me out, and so I need something to keep me going and intrigued, and a little bit sooner than 4 or 5 years to get going. And so I kind of moved on from those projects. So mainly do crested and guard.
Nice. Very nice.
Sad that you left the Uroplatus. You had some really nice ones.
Yeah, that was it's still special to my heart. I actually reached out to a guy today because there was another species of Uroplatus that I kept. They're called Pechmani, a corkbark leaf-tailed gecko, and they're very hard to find, very hard
Jack
to keep.
has them, my buddy Jack.
And yep, and I had a couple pairs back in the day, and then I ended up letting those go. And I actually saw someone post one today available, and I actually reached out to him and inquiring about it, because they're not supposed to be exported. They're illegal to export from Madagascar anymore. And so whatever's here is here, or whatever you can get from Canada, or if you get from Europe or something like that, however they get them, that's it. And so, but yeah, the Fantasticus are near and dear to my heart. I was just talking to a good friend today, and we were talking about them, and that's kind of like my passion project. Like I was I love those things. Fantasticus in general are very hard to keep and reproduce. I think one of the hardest, besides corkbark, to reproduce amount of all the other species of Uroplatus. They need it a lot colder than the Ebanawi and all that stuff. And in order to do that, in Arizona, where it's freaking hot, I was successfully able to do that, and was able to create over, I think, 60 babies that survived and made it to adulthood. And was able to rehome and all that stuff. And I think at my height, I had over like 28 pairs going, but they require a lot of upkeep. I had them in a separate room with a separate air conditioning. You want to keep them like 70, 72 with all lighting. So UVB, terrarium lighting, all that stuff, all that stuff puts off heat. So you don't want any much hotter than that, because they do not tolerate heat well. And then to get them to breed, they need a nighttime temp drop, so like 10 to 15 degree temp drops, and so down into the 50s sometimes. And so that can be difficult for people to do, you know. And but yeah, I was just talking today about with a friend, and she was like, "Hey, you should grab a couple pairs and just keep them again. You don't have to go all big and out, but like the person I am, like if I get into something, like I have to go big. I need, you can't just like Crested, right? You can't just have like two. You need 30. You need all the different colors and stuff. Yeah, they're near and dear to me. Was able to breed them here in Arizona. That gets very hot. And, I introduced a lot of people, first time breeders to them. And, I believe anybody that is willing to put the time and effort into learning how to keep anything properly, um, can keep a certain species. So I knew some at that time. I remember when I first got into them in like 2019, I was I was trying to buy them, and I never kept any reptile before. Or 2018, I never kept any reptile before, and I was messaging a Fantasticus breeder in California, and she was like grilling me on questions, and they didn't want to like sell them to new breeders because they're very hard to keep if you can't keep them like other reptiles. And then someone who has no reptile background, um, and I was just like, hey, give me a chance. Give me a I'll put in the time and the effort to learn. And I proved her wrong. We became Yvette Strand. She's out of California. She's
Phil's
old
wife.
G, Phil's wife. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so we became good friends over the years, and I bought many more from her and stuff like that. So yeah, you put in the time, energy, effort to educate yourself on anything, you can keep almost anything, so.
I agree. Mark and I say it all the time. I mean, everybody says, what's the best beginner species or what's something easy to take care of? It's whatever you're willing to learn about. Anything is equally easy to keep if you're willing to do the research. I mean,
Absolutely.
but
And
that's
some things are more tedious and entail more work, but as
sure.
long as you dial it in and you're serious about it, it becomes easy for you.
So when
So
you
coming soon, we'll get back into the Fantasticus, hopefully, or the cork bark ones. It sounds like, so we could do
uh,
another podcast in the future. It sounds like they're
may,
coming
may,
back.
maybe I said if the cork bark, I had a 2.3 at one point, and then I had like a female just up and die out of nowhere, and I've heard that before with other people keeping them. I still don't think we fully understand how to keep the species of Pechmani, the cork bark, yet. We have some good guesstimations, but I think we're still learning. And I was getting a lot of information from a guy named Helamad Geckos. His name's Dre Morales. He does a lot of that, leaf tails and salamanders and stuff like that. He's out of in the San Francisco area, and he was producing them for many years. And so I had got some from him. I had got some from Bion before they're out of the Ukraine. So before Russia actually bombed one of their facilities that housed a lot of their leaf tails, and unfortunately that species was killed, and because they were evacuated from the area, and it was a while before they were able to go back, and so that species wasn't viable to reproduce or anything like that. And so I had brought in all over. So it's good to see that they're I coming back. I had one that died, and then I couldn't get them to breed after I had gotten some eggs and hatched like one or two, and then I couldn't get them to breed for a few years, and so I ended up moving on from them. The cork bark, the satanic leaf tails, the Fantasticus. when my oldest son is 20, and he joined the military about 3 or 4 years ago, and he was a lot of my help. And so when he left, I lost a lot of help, and I felt like my level of care for the Fants wasn't meeting my expectation for them. And so I was not like I was like really neglecting them or anything like that, but it wasn't to my standards. And so I ended up deciding to rehome my whole collection, if I couldn't give them the proper time and effort that I feel that they deserve. And so I moved on from them, the cork bark, and but yeah, I always said, man, if a couple years go by, if I ever saw the cork bark come again and people start producing them and stuff, I would it would intrigue me to get back, a couple pairs, just to get them, and and move forward. And I saw one today actually in a story available. It's a lone male, so still thinking about it, but yeah, maybe.
Interesting. You had said something a little earlier that I'm curious if I could rewind a bit. When you were looking to buy your Fantasticus as a first time buyer, you were getting grilled with the questions, and
Hmm.
they kind of didn't want to sell them to you. How do you feel about that? And do you do the same thing? If someone's never kept an animal before, is there a set of questions you ask someone? Will you not sell an animal to someone? I mean, even your new cow stuff and the other stuff. I mean, how do you handle that whole situation?
So I'll ask a few questions. So I am big on, somebody gave me a first chance, and so I am willing to give somebody a first chance. All you can do is ask them some simple, general questions like, hey, do you know how to house these, keep these? You understand this? You understand this? You understand that? And if they tell you, the correct things, all you can go off is their word. Now, I did have some people that wanted to be first time Fantasticus owners, for example. I told them exactly how to keep them under these temperatures. And then, like 3 months later, they said, hey, it passed away. And then immediately I'm like, hey, where are you keeping them? Oh, I'm keeping them with my cresteds and these and that. What's the temperature in that room? Oh, like 80 degrees. I'm like, you killed it because of heat, And then I didn't sell it to them again, and that species. So I believe, in first time opportunities. Somebody gave me a first time opportunity. We all have first time opportunities, at some point in your life, whatever, if it's a job or at school or a hobby or something like that. And you have to be given a chance, and hopefully someone's willing to give you a chance. And so that's kind of my take on it. I'm willing to sell, pretty much to anybody that, obviously doesn't have a bad reputation already coming in. But if they're showing through limited communication through a chat, um, that they're knowledgeable and, mature and have some sort of understanding, then I'm willing to give them an opportunity. And hopefully they take that opportunity and move forward with it. So.
Sure. I agree with you. Not for nothing, you're clearly not selling, $20 animals. When someone spends that kind of money, you kind of I mean, at least I feel when someone sends me money for a Chihuahua, $800 or something like that, I'm like, yeah, I ask a bunch, a few questions and make myself available. But the odds are you're not going to send me $800 to kill it, right? Like you're going to try to keep it with the money you spent. I mean, it's not a lot of money, but it's also not, $20 either. It's
Yeah.
you
I
think
found I found
more.
for the most part, if people are spending more than a couple $100, they're already putting some investment time into whatever they're buying, whatever species, and if they're willing to, for the most part. Now, not everybody, right? There's some jackasses out
He's the
there, but
exception.
but for the most part, if you're forking out, a lot of money, you have some sort of commitment and educated yourself prior. to that. So yeah, I would agree with that.
Do you, Mark? Do you ask questions? I never asked you myself. I don't hate to say like interrogate because I don't mean interrogate, but when someone's buying an animal from you, do you ask like a set of questions, or how do you handle that?
I never got to sell any Fantasticus. I have sold some Ebanawi. I ask if they need help with it. Honestly, I'm of the same, bro. I feel like if you're looking into getting these animals, you're looking into you're spending the money for them. You're gonna look into the care. If you have any questions, and you're gonna ask before, normally in that category, people are asking you those questions. You don't really get somebody that's like, oh, let me go buy $1,000 Fantasticus and just see what I can do with it. Those are on a different scale. So I never really had that experience, but I'm also of the mindset that, bro, I like to give people chances also. I don't want
You
to.
have to. Yeah.
I will tell you, I've been on the other side where, like, even my friend Briatis, I went through a whole, you know, check my resume. Let me see the tank that you're gonna put them in. Do you know? Like, I have Pachydaktylus rangii. They did the same thing with me, and I passed with all the tests to get them. And I have them. So I understand it, but I feel like you get that feeling when you're speaking to the person. And they're looking to purchase those animals. They're asking these. I've never had somebody just say, "Hey, can you have an Ebanawi for sale? I'll take it." You know, or I never got to sell Fantasticus, to be honest with you. I was successful in breeding them. I was hoarding everything, and then I had a major accident. Similar, like I had my son, which was a major help. I cheaped out. I travel 2-3 weeks at a time sometimes. I cheaped out and I got some Chinese misters connected to my Miss King, and one of them got clogged. My son wasn't aware of it. Hottest days of the week in the summertime, basically every single tank was dry, got super hot. At that point I felt the same way. I'm like, with this traveling, I cannot really be on top of them the way I want to, and I don't want to put that pressure on my son, he's helping me. He's not the professional there, and I know he felt very bad. It was almost 20 animals that passed at a time. And I went through some hard lessons from my first pair down up to when I finally was successful. I had 2 pairs of Fantasticus. The rest were babies, all growing up. Like, I was successful with them. But then that accident happened, and I said, my son was devastated. I can't point the blame at him. My failure. I cheaped out $15.99 Miss King nozzles, and I went and bought $3.99 Chinese nozzles. And honestly, I said, let me fall back for now until I can get it. I'm not gonna not ever get them again, but now I just have Ebanawi and Fimbriatus. But Fantasticus, that was my first. That gecko. This is why I'm so excited about Andrew. That gecko was my first, like, wow, bucket list. You know, I love those things, to
Mm-hmm.
be honest. They are just amazing. Um that was one of the geckos that really inspired me. So no, I'm not gonna question people down, like, if I'm an FBI agent, what are you doing? This is that. I'm not gonna do that. But I feel like you get that when you talking to the person when they're purchasing, to be honest with you. You know?
And even on asking questions for crested geckos. So I have a rule is I will sell younger baby crested geckos if they are like a morph, so like a sable or frap or cap or some shit like that. Like I will sell those younger. And I'll ask people, if they purchase them, like, hey, are you familiar with babies? These are babies, they're like 5 gram babies, and so I'll still ask that because I know sometimes, even a baby crested geckos can be a little bit, tricky with the shedding and all that stuff. And so, I forgot that I do ask that too, and I'll make sure and I'll run it by, even if it's somebody, that I'm familiar with. I'll be like, hey, you're cool. This is, it's still a baby, so like, hey, smaller tub, all that stuff, and so I still ask for like on the crested side for that for babies. Usually the juvenile stuff I don't really ask anymore for the new cow stuff, but for babies I will.
Now you said you sell baby morphs. Do you not sell baby regular geckos? Is there a reason, or
Typically
is that
no, typically no, no. I prefer to sell like 15 grams plus, right? 15 grams plus, and this is just what I like to do is 15 grams plus. They're starting to come into the colors a little bit more. You can typically, not guaranteed, as you guys know, that typically, for the most part, tell if it's going to be a male or female. Not 100%, but you can have a best, guesstimation by that time. And
a
so
lot by
I
that way?
yeah, a lot by like 15 grams. So usually a rule of thumb of mine is I like to do like 15-gram plus, except except for some exceptions of the higher end morph type, azanthic, axillary white, all that stuff. You guys pretty already much know what you're getting, um, and some of those people tend to care less getting them as a baby, like if they don't care what the sex is, um whereas like harlequins and stuff like that, like a lot of times the sex determines if someone wants to get it or not, right? Or you need the colors and the pattern to spread a little bit more if you want to move a male, and so yeah, that's just what I do. I like to, when I speak on things, and I'm sure Mark's been in my Palm Street Lives a lot. I tell everybody like, hey, these are just what I do, what works for me. I'm not one of those that is like, you have to do this or it's wrong, or you have to do that or it's wrong. I just say, hey, this is my experience. I have not been doing this forever. I have not been keeping reptiles since I was 5 years old. I've only been keeping reptiles since 2018, but I've gained a lot of experience there during this time, have bred a lot, and learned a lot and asked a lot of questions. And so I'm one of those that are, this is what I found, you know but and I like to tell people, as like, if you do an apprenticeship somewhere, um you go around and you learn. As an apprentice, you learn from all these different journeymen, and then when you become a journeyman, you take a little bit of what all these people say, and then you do it how you like to do it, right? There's no right wrong way. Like, some people spray, 5 times a day, some people spray every other day. Like, there's no right or wrong way to do it. You do what works best for you and what you find. So,
I
Are
will
you in
I
a
will have
union?
to say,
You in a union?
uh-oh.
what's that?
Are you in a union?
Yeah, I'm a journeyman lineman,
Oh
local
shit!
387 out of Arizona. So I'm a
Shit!
lineman. I work on the power lines. That's my main day job career for the largest utility here in Arizona. That's
That's
what
where you
I
get the
work.
money to buy these badass geckos now. Now I
Yeah,
know.
it it
I
does
made
it
a cake
does
though.
it
Ah.
it does support my hobby. It does support the sobriety hobby turned into business.
I will say that that is one of the most refreshing things about watching you or having you on Palm Street, that you have that attitude and you project that to the entire hobby. You know, you're never one of those. I sit and watch you a lot while I'm working or while I'm here in my own room. I may not comment a lot because I'm not just that type of person, but it's very refreshing to hear how you deliver and how you speak, especially with the amount of success that you have. You're never the type to, this is it and that's it. You know, you're always giving advice, you're always giving ideas, you're always giving tips and tricks. And I really appreciate that part of White Tanks Exotics when it comes to the hobby as a whole. And that's why when Anthony and I were speaking and stuff, and I'm like, "Hey, man, we have to get him on the podcast because that's the delivery, that's the thing. I believe the foundation of the hobby that just creates new people coming in, people that are here to become even better, and it
Mhm.
just it's just something great, you know. Like even seasoned veterans 25 years in, and I hear some of them speak and they have that outlook. It just creates a good atmosphere, a safe place, if you will, where you can feel like, hey, I can tell you I messed up. I can ask you a question. I can see, but Andrew, you're doing it this way and I tried it this way, and it's not gonna be a fist fight, if you will. You know, we
Yeah.
could just all come together and have a big conversation, and then it's
Good
just
seafoods, in my experience, are that way, though. You know, and I'm one of those people that's kept reptiles for over 40 years. I've had reptiles, and the best keepers are the ones that don't have any answers. Like, I can't tell you. I do not have a specific answer for what you're asking me. There's too many variables, you know? I feel like the people that are like, you got to do this, and this is how it is, this, like, excuse my language, but they fucking suck. Like, those people suck. The best
Yeah.
keepers will tell you there's a lot of factors, man. There's a lot of ways to do it. There's,
Yeah.
they're just, I don't even know how to articulate it properly, but you seem to
Yeah.
be that way, which
Typically,
is
the people that make like absolutes, like, oh, you have to do it this way, they're generally wrong, more times than not, and
hard to deal with.
um, and I'll give you like just my recommendation. People ask like, hey, I'm having these shed issues, and I'm like, hey, like, how much are you spraying it? Like, oh, I'm spraying it 3 times a day. And I'll say like, hey, they actually need a dry out period, in my opinion, and they like try not spraying it for a couple of days. Leave a water bowl, of course. They will drink out of a water bowl, and try not spraying it for a week and see if that actually improves their shedding. And because that's what I've found, what works best for me. And I found that out from asking the right people in the hobby when I was coming up, that took the time to answer the dumb questions, right? And and I get people all the time to ask questions. I'll be like, I'll tell them like, hey, yeah, it might be this, and they're like, yeah, that sounds stupid. I'm like, okay, then try it your way, or however you think. But this is just a another way to do things. We I'm one too, talking on lives and stuff like that. I'm the first to tell you about my failures and what I've tried and done that have failed, to, keeping geckos, keeping juvies in too small a tubs too long, and getting tail nips and missing tails and all that stuff. And I'm the first to tell everybody, like, we're all not perfect, and all you can do is, you can try it, and then hopefully you learn from that. And so, yeah, I'm always open to answer questions. Sometimes, lately, uh, past 6 months I've had some, difficult at home situation going on, and so sometimes I've been a little lagging on the response. I try to get back to everybody eventually, but yeah, if anybody has any questions, I'm always open to at least share my experience of what I've found within my group. And you can take that, apply whatever, or not take it, but you can always ask me.
Awesome.
So when so before we move too far forward, we were working with leaf tails. Our
Hmm.
favorites are the Fantasticus.
Yeah.
We ended up selling them all. Our son moved to the army.
Yeah.
When did the transition come that we said we're doing crested geckos on the level that you're doing them on?
So before so long now I gotta jump back to the beginning, what got me into reptiles. Like when I was a kid, I had like a bearded dragon and a chameleon like here and there, but of course they like died quick. But so I'm a recovery alcoholic. I was an alcoholic for 15 years, and in 2019, I started having real bad health issues, and I went to rehab. So I went to rehab for 110 days away from home, family, and everything. Checked myself into it, and I was committed. I knew I had a problem. Um, like real bad health issues, and I had hit rock bottom, and I was willing to try and do whatever it's take to, you know, pass the program and be successful. And so, at least for me, the program that I went to, all like my rehab is basically, obviously abstinence from substance abuse, but also therapy, right? Like it's just group therapy and individual therapy all day long, and evenings and weekends, to figure out like what happened at what point to cause you to go down this path. And so go through the program, all that stuff. And when I was leaving, transitioning from from in intensive in care patient, staying in a facility to going back home, I still had to go to therapy like 3 days a week. And I went to therapy 3 days a week for a year. And now I check in, it's been years and stuff, and I still go to therapy like once a month. I'll do a check-in and we'll chat and make sure we're still good with the same therapist. And it's been wonders for me. But she is what she was like, hey, what do you have something at home like a pet or an object or something that is yours that you take care of? Because part of my thing, it was like I take care of everybody else and spend everything everybody else. Everybody has everything, and I have like nothing, right? Like everybody has all new shoes. I still got shoes from 10 years ago, And so she's like, I encourage you to find like a pet, like a hamster or something, a fish that I can take care of. Like, and at first I was like, okay. She's like, let's just try it, right? You're open. I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, I'll try everything, man. You want me to fucking get a fish or whatever? And so I was looking around. Of course, like me at that time, it's like, well, I have to have something nice. Like I don't want like a bearded dragon or I didn't know anything about exotic pets or reptiles. I just knew what was at PetSmart, and I'm like, well, I don't want like a bearded drag or anything like that. And I started looking on YouTube, like cool, like I remember Google searching like cool animals, and I came across um, the pixie frogs, right? So the African, the
Bullfrog.
freaking the big African bullfrogs, yeah. And I'm like, those are cool. I want one of those because like they get like this big, and so I ended up with a pixie frog, and then I ended up with four pixie frogs, and then I'm like, they're kind of boring, and they're just green, and they grow. The reason why I like them is because they're very hungry, like hungry all the time. Like whatever you fucking feed it, and all day it just
I
eats
have
it
them.
and
I keep them.
swallow it.
Love
Yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah. And so then I had four pixie frogs, and then I found about Pac-Man frogs, right? They're kind of similar but different, but they have all different kinds of colors. So now, next thing you know, I got like eight frogs, and I'm keeping, and then they got much, right? If you know about like frogs, you have to have water, and they drink and pee and poop and everything all in the water. And every single day, 3 times a day, I was changing out the waters and all these frogs cages, these their terrariums, and it got a little much. And so I'm like, man, I need to find something else. And my wife at the time was like, hey, what about a gecko? And we started flipping through um, like geckos, and she's like, this gecko's cool. And it was a satanic leaf-tailed gecko. I'm like, that thing is badass. And then I started looking into it, and then I found out like, well, you can't find them, you can't buy them anywhere. Like they were very extremely rare at that time in the hobby. And that made me, my like ego was kind of like taking over. And that made me want them more. I was like, what do you mean I can't buy one? I can't find one. I'll fucking buy one. I want one. And so then it became like a quest all day, every day to find these. And I started finding them and doing all that. And so then I was keeping those for a while. And then I'm like, oh, I want another species. And my first other species after that was a gargoyle. So I forgot what his name is. His name is Doug. He does like he does lychees. Um, but he used to do auctions on his Instagram. And I remember I just got like a gargoyle. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I won it. It was like $200 or something like that. And I had that guy for a while. And somehow, some way, it had brought up Crested Geckos had came across, because then I started following like frog pages and gargoyle pages and stuff like that, and I started come across Crested Geckos. I think the first page I came across was Chase at Zengex, and um, on Facebook and stuff like that. And I started looking into that, and I was keeping the Fantasticus this time. I had moved on from the frogs. So this is like over like a couple of years time periods. I had moved on from the frogs, and now I'm keeping Fantasticus. I got pairs going and stuff, and I started collecting again. Like my ego and pride was like, well, if I keep these species, like I want the best of the best. I had no intention of breeding them or anything like that. Zero intention. But, I was like, I want the best of the best. And I remember I started buying like my first my first crested gecko was a lily white, 3 grams, unsexed, $1,800, right? And that was a deal. I remember that. That was a deal, and that was when lily whites were really popular, and I started like getting that. Then my next one was another high coverage animal. Then I bought an axanthic, right? I'm like, oh, everyone's after these axanthic things, and I bought a axanthic for freaking $10,000 or something, and that was a steal at that time. And I started collecting all these high-end animals, and no intention of breeding. Didn't even think about breeding them or anything. I just was doing it for myself, because if I'm going to keep these things in my house, I want like the nicest things possible. And and seeing other people trying to buy them too, it kind of gets to you, because I'm like, well, if they want, I'm like, I want it. And so uh, I started amassing this collection of really nice stuff. And then I made the white tank page. I'm like, oh, I want to make a page like everybody else and show off my geckos. And then I started getting messages like, hey, when are you going to have babies? When do you have this? And I was like, I'm like, oh, I'm not a breeder. I'm not having any babies. And I forgot who it was. I forgot who it was, but someone like was like, well, then why do you have all this then if you're not breeding them? And I'm like, uh, I don't know. That's a good question. And so I started slowly. That was back when like you had to buy like 3 gram unsexed babies, and that's what I was buying and raising them up and all that stuff. And then slowly I'm like, okay, I'll breed them, and it was helping me with my alcohol. I wasn't having withdrawals at that time, but when, in the evenings was difficult at that time, because that's when I would would heavily drink and stuff like that. And I would go to now we're in Gecko rooms, but before it was in one of the extra living rooms that I had, and where I had all the enclosures and stuff. And I would go in there every night and hand feed each baby and hold it and spend time and pick the shed off of it and stuff. And for like that first like year, like they helped me tremendously, over with my mind overcoming like the drinking aspect and thinking, right? Because it's all like, with me at least, for like the drinking and stuff, it was all memories. Like, at 6 o'clock I'd be drinking, and or watching a football game, going to a sporting event, drinking, and so um and you don't really do that with the Fantasticus. Like, they're not really a species that you hold all that much. They're real fragile and stuff. But the crested geckos were, and so I would do that, and I would spend, from the time I got home from work till bedtime, and just with the geckos, and more with the geckos than with my family, and and slowly started, okay, I do want to breed. And then, started finding like older, like everybody else does, find older geckos closer to breed, to try to breed. And because you want to make your own babies, and you want that satisfaction that I have eggs and I'm incubating them, and you didn't create a baby, but you incubated and hatched a baby and all that stuff. And but the flavor of my taste for them never left, right? I just continued liking, I know I like dark stuff, and Dalmatians. So Dalmatians was the first the cresteds. I forgot now. The Dalmatians were the first cresteds that I like really started, was like, I want to be a Dalmatian breeder, and I want to be the best Dalmatian in the breeder in the whole world and all that stuff. And next thing you know, I have, over 2,000 now. And yeah, and I haven't gotten bored yet. I did almost quit in 2024. I don't know if we're gonna get to the drama or anything like that, but because of drama, I almost quit in 2024. And then I had some good buddies that were like, hey, what I do when I see all this drama or negativity, even not, maybe not drama, but negativity, when someone's in their story and they're fucking complaining about something, it kind of like drags you down a little bit. And they're like, I just mute them, restrict them. And I purged all my Facebook groups. I left all those. I unfriended a lot of the drama people on Facebook, and I muted um, tons of people. I just muted somebody else the other day on Instagram, because it's like, I don't want to see any of that shit. And so I almost left. I got talked out of it, and yeah, still doing it, There's ups and there's downs, and there's ups and there's downs, but I still enjoy it to this day. Fucking Friday nights, Saturday nights, I'm cleaning gecko shit, so yeah. Sorry, that was like a long but
It's awesome, brother.
the fucking till this
This
point,
is
yeah.
this is
I
about
commend
you.
you. I
This
commend you for being so honest about your recovery process and everything too, and how these animals helped, and Mark and I talk about it all the time. I mean, these things, without being dramatic, can save lives, right? Any healthy hobby can save your life.
Absolutely.
It's huge, and it's huge for people to hear that. It's as I'm sure, like you said, the beginning of any recovery or any issue is admitting you have a problem. And just that alone, that's huge, man. I commend you on that.
not only that, what you just said right there, if we pick it apart, and for the viewers that's watching, we just had an episode that we did about mental health. And one of the things you brought up was, the negativity. how you dealt with the negativity, how you pushed past it, and you just dropped the gem for the viewers. Push past it. Don't dwell on it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
X them out and keep it moving, because those are the hurdles that are placed before you in order to see you fail. They want to see you fail, and if you dwell upon it, you will trip up and fall. Push it to the side, exit out. I'm very quick. I'm a dangerous man because I'm the most successful when I'm by myself. You get what I'm saying? And I'm very quick to my wife tells me all the time, I don't know how you could do it. And I'm like,
mute and delete all day, right? Beep,
I'm
beep,
like
beep, beep. I ain't got time
goodbye.
for that, man. We're creating our environments, with
Yeah.
these social medias, who we follow, who we listen to. We are literally forging our own environment, man. You're foolish if you sit around and deal with that nonsense. Like, I ain't got time.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
not gonna let someone else ruin my happy place, man. Fuck that. See you later.
And that's
Yeah, for sure. And I used to engage a little bit, a few years ago, I would engage and start, complaining a little bit in my stories, and then I would be like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm giving them what they want. I'm responding to their fucking nonsense. And so yeah, man, now it's like, man, if I don't see it, and it could be something, someone's complaining about like tubs versus 50-gallon tanks enclosures, and it's like, dude, I don't even want to see that, and so it's mute. No, 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 nothing against them or anything like that. It's for my mental clarity, so that way I can enjoy my hobby and
Absolutely.
continue moving forward and stuff like that. And yeah, I think it's good, in the hobby, find like-minded people, and tune out the rest of it. For the most part nowadays, I found best, like, hey, I work better, solo, do my own thing. I try to engage with everybody and be friendly with everybody, and I'll answer everyone's, questions and stuff like that. But I try not to engage myself in certain, groups or anything like that. Because when you get a group together, you could just be all negative, and yeah, that's not good for anything. Because if someone's real negative, that negativity starts to wear off on you, and then you start being negative, like, oh yeah, I now, like, someone might have a problem with somebody else, you don't have a problem with somebody else, but then you start believing, well, yeah, well, I don't like them now. Well, they didn't do nothing to you, and so yeah, I would just say, for those watching, just cut out all that negativity, leave those Facebook groups. Those things were the worst. And still to this day, I will have one just popped up yesterday. It was the "What's my gecko morph?" And I'm like, damn it, unfriend, unfollow. Like, I don't even want any of that stuff. And so yeah, that's how again, that's how I take it, how what has been good for me. Because again, I was about to leave because of drama and negativity and all that shit. I was like, fuck this shit, fuck these people, like, you know, all
That's
this and that. And then I'm like, dude, why? It's just geckos. Chill, bro. It's just geckos, right?
yeah. No, yeah,
So
Mark, we say it all the time too. And people, we talk about, how we approach certain questions that people may ask, and how some people talk to each other. Mark and I personally, one thing we have in common is we try to be respectful and as unbiased as humanly possible with people, right? Like, we don't like to shut anyone off or anyone's opinions off. And I say that to say this, is that the wrong response or the wrong treatment, I guess you will, will literally ruin someone's future, right? You can easily deter someone from being in this hobby when our goals should all be one common goal we should all have is to grow this hobby, right? Grow this community. There's some people out there that are just so negative and so nasty.
Yeah.
Imagine them talking to your kid like that, your teenager who wants to get a gecko for the first time. You're talking to this kid like this. Now this kid wants nothing to do with these fucking things because you just talked to him and treated him like an idiot. Like it's not
Yeah.
good for anybody. You know, it's you're not alone, which is sad to see a grown man that almost left because, you know, other people. I mean, again, that just goes to show. Imagine being a kid who's really just looking for a, you know, a place to be, somewhere to fit in, to have like interests with people, and people are running them off. Like it's terrible.
It happens.
Daily.
It happens, and it's happening on a daily basis. You see people leaving. You see people going through things. I feel like that's one of the, you said it, negativity attracts negativity. No one's perfect. So everybody's going to be a little negative here and there. But the whole thing about it is learning how to catch yourself and say, let me get away from it. You know what I'm saying? Because naturally it's a defense mechanism to protect yourself from these negative things. So you become negative towards it, but then you have to catch yourself and say, hey, you know what? The hell with it. One of the things, and I've said this before, I have 3 quotes here that I live by. My father has given this to me, and I've had this. I wish I had a date on here, man. But it makes no sense to worry about the things you have no control over, because if you have no control over them, it makes no sense to worry about them. And secondly, it makes no sense to worry about the things you do have control over, because if you have control, it makes no sense to worry. Food for
That's
thought.
like
You do
a
the
fancy
dishes
way
on
of
that.
saying the Serenity Prayer. You know?
All right.
Yeah.
But it happens all the time. It's great that you overcame that, because I would definitely hate to see you leave. I mean, I've had my situations where I almost was like, I don't even want to, because at the end of the day, I don't need to do this for a business. I could just keep them as a hobby, disappear from all social media, and continue working, and I'm chilling. But I told myself I can't let those things bother me. I have to just keep going, and you know, it's great that you did that. Don't ever let nobody bring you down from your white tank mountains. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The same way that you were saying a negative circle, a negative group of people can you know ultimately drag you into their mood or tone or whatever it is. I mean, a positive group can do the opposite. You know, if you surround yourself with a positive, uplifting group of people, I mean, it's amazing, you know, what you guys can do. You know, I've met some people through this reptile hobby that, dude, I honestly can't imagine my life without now. You know, I got some cool people, man, that will stand behind me and back me on just about anything I believe in that has logic. You know, I mean, they you know, they're just some good people. You know, you can, you know, again, like I said, on the, you know, there's the negative side of it and the people that you surround yourself with, and just like in the real world out here, you surround yourself with the right people, the positive people. They will uplift you, push you farther, challenge you intellectually, you know, with these, you know, these animals, and expand your horizon with other species, and you know, keeping methods, and you know, it's can, you know, choosing your circle wisely is wise, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And I still have I have good friends, you know, within the hobby that, you know, I call, you know, and we chat on the phone and we chat about life, you know. It's not even, you know, I call and you know, like, hey, how's the fam? You know, how's work? How's this and that? And then get to geckos, not just about like immediately call and like, hey, what are you breeding, you know, this season and this and that, and so yeah, that's definitely, you know, involve yourself with people, like-minded people, similar interests and all that stuff. And and yeah, it's very, very uplifting, and better for you'll enjoy it more, right? Like I enjoy, again, this isn't my full-time career. I don't need to move, sell any geckos to pay any of my bills. So I truly do that. Yes, I'm not going to deny it. I do this for a business now, but I truly enjoy this first and foremost. When you surround yourself with positive people and positivity, your hobby is more enjoyable. Like, don't worry, like people's, like, oh my God, I just bought this Xanthic. Is the market going to crash? Is the market going to crash anymore? Should I try to sell it now? Don't worry. Like, you can't change nothing right now. You can't change nothing next week. Like, don't worry about that. Like, enjoy. You see something you like, that, get it. Enjoy it. Grow it
It
up,
happens with
you
every,
know?
bro. I went and bought, before Geckos and all. I had my own auto mechanic shop. My dream was to get a Type R 2019, 2018.
Mm-hmm.
I went and bought a Type R straight out the dealership. The sticker price was 40,000. Civic Type R is not a
The
Ferrari or
yellow,
nothing, but
the yellow
my
one.
the yellow one came out afterwards, and I
Ah,
almost got
okay,
that
okay.
one too. I had bro, I paid $75,000 for that car. I was
I
paying
remember that.
$1,200 a month. I paid extra for it. People were like, "Oh, you crazy? You're this, that, the other." I don't care.
Yeah.
I wanted my car. I was happy. I I completed something in my
Yeah.
life that no one could ever take it away from me. Hey, I traded that shit in for a Toyota Tacoma and started the Gecko room. My son started crying. I said, "Don't worry. I promise you, in the future, we will have two parked in front of the garage. That car is just a car. We starting a business. We will have two of them in the future. I don't care about none of that stuff. Exantic. Oh, I spent $2,000 on an Exantic. The price dropped the next day. I don't care because I got what I wanted.
Yeah.
You can't take that away from me. And I paid what I had to pay to have that. Like, it's amazing stuff. Like, you can't cry over
Do
that.
what do what you enjoy, what makes you happy. You will enjoy the hobby so much better. That's another thing. A lot of people, those are more people that I muted on Instagram. The people in the stories complaining about the market this, the market that. I can't sell this. Mute. You know what I mean? It's like, just be
You're doing it for the
positive.
wrong reason to begin with. If you're complaining about the market crashing, you're already off.
Yeah, like, enjoy your hobby, grow them up. If you have a vision of a certain color morph genetic that you want to do, specialize in that, focus on that. Try to make the best version of that you can make, and stay positive, stay humble, um, and all that stuff will take care of itself, in due time. You know what I mean? Like, I'm very on, being positive, stay positive, do good, good will happen to you, and so yeah, I always try to tell everybody, just try to ignore that stuff, do your hobby, you know get a mass, get a collection that you feel comfortable with. uh, Start putting into vend shows, Morph Market, Palm Street. Those are all tools. Like, don't just leave one or the other. You still got to do all those stuff that I've come to find out. Like, I still got to go to in-person shows, which I love doing and love interacting with people. And and you'll find, and eventually, and comment on people's posts and put yourself out there and say hello and be talkative and all that stuff, and everything will work its way out, eventually, and stuff. And usually the people that are real negative from the get-go, like, they're out anyways, soon, really soon anyways, which is good. I mean, you don't want to see anybody like leave, but there's always new people filtering in, and you want to be positive, like you said, Anthony. You want to be positive for the new people coming in, right? Like we want to continue to expand this hobby for younger generations and continue going up and up. And you know, if you're being negative all the time, like what kind of image are you painting for the new generation that's coming through, the new hobbyist that now wants to breed? Because you know, it's not a competition. We need more breeders, and we need more hobbyists, and we need more keepers and all that stuff. And so, you know, try to spread positivity for all that people, and not scare them off, you know. So
Absolutely. So speaking of morphs and colors and all that stuff, what were you attracted to at first, and what how did that evolve to where you are today? What morphs do you enjoy? What are you working with? Walk us through what your passions in particular are in this.
so my biggest thing in the beginning was Dalmatians. I got Dalmatians from every corner of this earth. Crimson Cresties in the UK. I brought them from Korea. I brought some from China. Um, I've brought some from the Ukraine, the Czech Republic, um, and Pangea, and so that was my first love, was Dalmatians. I brought them all in. I worked with them the most. I've cut them down sizably to find what works best, you know. And what I've found, a little like Easter egg, is like typically the most spottiest times the most spottiest doesn't make the most spottiest. You have to
Same
find
work? No.
which gene works the best. You know, you see there's a lot of breeders that sell super spotty ones that are very popular, and they don't. I've never seen one that um, outproduces itself like the parents. And so, but I typically, I like Dalmatians, and I like dark stuff. I like the color black. Like right now, I'm wearing black jeans, black t-shirt. I like dark stuff. So, Dalmatians, of course, I got into Xanthic. Um, I like empty backs. I like very clean lateral lines. So like quad stripes, pinstripes, empty back, super stripe, all that stuff. That's the style look that I like. Darker the better. Um, and you know, took that, you know, empty back, you know, into, you know, you get, okay, I want to get an empty backs. Okay, I'm making empty backs. Now what do I do with it? When I started taking the empty back into, you know, tricolors, and now working on tricolor empty backs, yellows, making yellow empty backs and all that stuff. And so primarily, uh, first I got into Dalmatians, of course, the Xanthic. Xanthic was the next big project that I got into. That was like at the height of the Xanthic stuff. Been working on a Xanthic empty backs. Let's see, what else? Sable. I do all the, you know, sable caps, straps, all that stuff. And then the past 2 years, I have an opinion on the way the market's gonna go. And the past 2 years, I've been holding back and purchasing really like high end normals, if you would say, non-morph, non-cap, frap, sable, all that stuff, high end normals. So my and it's just my opinion, is like everyone's all into the morphs, the caps, fraps, sables, all that Xanthics, all stuff right now. Um, and eventually that's going to be flooded. And what's going to set your Xanthic apart from the next guy's Xanthic, right? Because ultimately we are a business too, is going to be nice het Xanthics and nice normals, right? Pairing nice sables to nicer normals and all that stuff. It's not just about making a sable anymore or an Xanthic. It's how much white or pattern you can put on it. And so I have been that is what I've been the past 2 years. I've been building my high coverage, high white collection. And this is actually this. I started pairing some last year. This year is going to be the biggest year for all that stuff. Been importing them from all over the world, purchasing them within the United States, from multiple breeders and all that stuff. Producing my own that I've had, um, and yeah, right now the newest project is I started hatching out some of the fires, and from like the fires, the leucistic type stuff, right? We'll just refer to it as fire and super fire. I know there's that's another thing. There's like all kinds of names for those, but I'm working on that. I'm hatching some of that stuff out. I have a marble male that I imported last year from with Gecko, or in Korea. Um, I think I'm the second person to have a marble in the United States. There's someone else that has it. I won't say their name just to keep it private. And then I also have a pied, a pied from Korea, and so those are some new stuff that is exciting. That the marble, um, they're calling it a marble pied. It's a male. It's a lily white. He's about 34 grams right now. So I like to get my males a little bit more beefier, mid 40s, upper 40s before I start pairing them. And so that will be probably, later this end of summer, this fall. See if we can do that stuff. But yeah, I kind of do all the morphs, and let's see, dark stuff, dark phantoms. I love dark phantoms. I brought in some other dark phantom stuff um, from imports, just from Europe, right? Like I'm not against, some people are like, oh man, we need to stop importing. Well, I have all the Dark Phantom lines here, so I have to bring in some fresh blood from elsewhere, and so I brought in some Dark Phantom stuff from the Czech Republic last year, and I continue. I just want a plain dark. I love just the plain dark black Dark Phantoms, and trying to make them like super dark, and so yeah, that's kind of doing all the more stable caps, fraps, all that good stuff. Um, Obviously, Azanthics. Another thing, what I started doing last year and this year is I've been gene stacking. So I'm putting like Azanthic into sable, Azanthic into caps, Azanthic into frap. I have a super sable male that I produced a few years back, a super sable lily white that's healthy. Well, I put it on my story the other day. He's 48 grams. I paired him to a few ladies and got healthy offspring from him. Um, so yeah, kind of all over the place. Dark stuff, all the main, like morph type stuff, and I still do some Dalmatians, and I beefed up my high white pattern and high white tricolor group. That was probably the biggest that I've built up the last 2 years, and this year I'll be slowly going, but I think I introduced like I probably have about 25 new girls in that group, and maybe 10 to 12 new boys for that group. And then of course, most of them are virgin, so so if you get half, that's that's a good season, from new virgins and stuff like that. But yeah, I tried doing some. I've never been into like yellow stuff, and I tried get into yellow stuff last year, and they did not come out what I was expecting or wanting from the majority of the group. So I moved on from majority of the group. I kept what pairs I did like and was working well. So I have a small yellow group, um, like like a 2.4, like small, like very very small yellow group, um and and a small gargoyle group as well too. But yeah, kind of all over the place. But yeah, I usually like dark stuff. Darker the better.
What do you,
Still, I mean, it seems all over the place, but I can see what you're doing, and it is actually kind of very specific. I dig it. I dig it. I mean, I mean, for anyone that doesn't know, or I mean, it doesn't take much to scroll through your social media page and tell that it's a extremely high end collection. I mean, it's speaks for
Appreciate that.
itself.
Thanks.
when you're planning these things out, right? What tips you have for somebody as far as developing a project or a program? Are you recommending, hey guys, if you want to start something, do you make sure you get 2-3 males, have a backup male, 10 female? Like what are you suggesting, an outline for somebody to start a project or something?
So I will always say, because I've learned the hard way, I'll start off with this. Always have a backup male. Always. I've learned multiple times now where I've sold, I'm like, oh, I have this one male and he does pretty good, and then I sell the offspring. This happened with the king stripe line stuff. And I have I have my main male, and he prolapsed, and I had to have a hemipene amputated. So that took him out for a year. So then I kept a holdback, right? I kept a holdback again. So now I'm just down with one male, and then he, uh, during an unfortunate event, he passed away, and then then I was like, fuck. And so that's why I like that group hasn't, like, I haven't exploded more, because I had to wait until the one hemipene dude to heal, for a year. And that pushed me back a year, and he's actually breeding this year. But I would always say, have a backup male. Males are very important. I know everyone's after
So too.
girls, but your boys are very, very important. I still buy fucking. I'm like, yeah, I don't need any more males. And I see a fucking really nice male that's better than the male that I have in a group right now, and I can upgrade him, or add him in. Like, I absolutely still do that. And so, for anybody getting in, starting a group, find what you like, right? I like dark stuff. I like lateral, empty back, quad stripes, and stuff like that. Try to perfect whatever you like. If it's tigers, empty backs, harlequins, extremes, whatever it is, find what you like. And if you like it, doesn't matter what, if the rest of the other people don't like it. Like 3 years ago, tigers weren't a thing, and now tigers are popular, right? Starting to see like very dark flames, like, are becoming popular again. Just like really dark with some, like, little bit of pattern on the side. Like, people are liking those again, And so whatever you like, you know, find the best animal that you can afford within your means. Even if it's like empty backs, even if it's hets, you don't have to buy super empty backs or whatever, even if it's hets. And if you have a vision, stick to it, and, take it to multiple ways. Empty back for me, right? I achieved the dark, black ones, cleared empty back, clear head or dark head, nothing. All right, now what am I going to do with it? Okay, now start taking it. Well, you know, take it, make phantoms now. So now make phantom empty backs, take it to yellows, take it this directions, take it that directions. There's so much stuff you can continue. Take it to a xanthic, make a xanthic empty back or super stripe or whatever it is, and just stick to it, and try to better it and always improve, and have a backup male. I would say, you know, like when I was doing the Dalmatians, I would like to do maybe like two males and four females, and maybe try the one male with two girls one season and see how those babies come out. And if those don't come out that one, you kind of get if you have a good season, you kind of get an idea. Um, and if maybe you didn't like how those, swap the males, right, with the girls, and those ones make better. And so that's how I tend to do it. And I also have a little bit of issue. That's why I don't get into certain projects. I haven't got into. I like tigers. If if I get into a project, I can't just get like one. I need like six. I need at least a guaranteed male, a guaranteed female, and then I want, like, okay, I got a male that I want, but the girls, I want to try it in four different ways. So like I want to try. Oh, okay. I have. I remember I got a red phantom frappuccino from Janine at Treehouse Geckos, and I wished I had like four of her, because I wanted to put her with like a red porthole, and then I wanted to put her and make more red phantom fraps, but then I wanted to put her with a dark and see what the dark does with the red phantom frap, and then I wanted to put her with like a extreme harlequin and all that stuff. And so that's why I try to limit my projects now, because I tend to go overboard, because I need a good group of them to test my theories out. And so some stuff like, oh, you're not working with, tigers. I'm like, no, I like it, but then, that I that's another project I don't want to get into. I got enough going on here, and I'm focusing on that. So
Well, you're not wrong. I mean, for any project, I mean, at least in my experience, and I've been doing this for 8 years ish now, a test group isn't a pair, right? Like you need a group of animals to really figure a gene out. You have to run it multiple ways. You have to, have other offspring to cross-reference your results to. You can't just, I mean, even if you were to go buy the very best tiger male you could find and the very best female tiger you can make, doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean you're going to make great tigers. Doesn't mean you're not going. Doesn't mean anything, really. You need more. There has to be more involved than just a pair to really work any gene, in my experience, at least.
yeah, absolutely.
It
I mean, same thing with the Dalmatians, because I went and bought the super spotty Dalmatian and this super spotty Dalmatian. Then I paired them together, and I got offspring with no spots, like all of them. And it took me 3 seasons to realize, okay, I have all of these Dalmatians from all of these. And then I started, okay, the next season I paired them. And that was like a group of like 30, like between males and females. Like I had 30 to 40 Dalmatians, and seen, okay, what works group? Okay, these from this guy, like I paired him to 3 different females and got nothing, right? And then the next season, but I held on to those. The next season, I paired those females with another dude, and then I got spottier offspring. So I knew it wasn't the girl. And then that original male, and then I paired him with other girls and still got nothing. So then I knew, okay, that super spotty guy that I spent, $2,800 from, big company, that they don't, that doesn't work, right? So then I let go of him. And then same thing with the girl and stuff like that. So it took three years to finally hone down, and 30, let's just say 30, a group of 30, to figure out what consistently makes the best Dalmatians over and over and over again, right? So if you have a Dal and you make one super spotty offspring and the other 10 are not, like that's not good, genetics, in my opinion. You just got lucky with the one. And so, in my opinion, the best are, and I share everything, right? Donna Crimson Cresties, my two males from her. One is from Sprite and Havoc, and the other one, I forgot who it was. So those two males are solid. I know other breeders, and if they're watching this, they're going to be like, why the fuck are you telling people? But I don't care. I have nothing to hide. I want to help people out. So, those two males from Donna and Crimson Cresties, no matter what females I put them with, solid all the way. And then my girls from Canada, I don't think she's breeding anymore, but she was Supernova um, Exotics or Supernova Cresties. She's not in it anymore. Um, but I have some girls from her, which come from extended Mr. Spotty type stuff who isn't around anymore. But yeah, those have been the best pairings. So I would say some other well-known lines in the US have been total duds for me. At least for me with my group, right? Might work for you and your group, but at least for me and my group have been total duds and stuff. But yeah, go hit up Donna Crimson Cresties in the UK. Her stuff is always reproduced, no matter what I put them to, and consistently. Like out of say 10 offspring, maybe two may not have. 8 of them are freaking spotty out of the egg, and two may not have spots. And so that's how I look. When I look at good pairings, might not be the super spottiest looking parents, but they're out producing, the babies are out, outshining them. So
Mm. Um, hmm, would ha, have you tried, just out of curiosity, like those super spotty animals that did not produce super spotty animals when you did pair them together? Did you
mhm.
try to like pair them to non-spotty animals at all? Like
Yeah,
just a plain phantom?
I've paired not playing phantoms. I've paired them to other Dalmatians to see. And again, from like one major company, I had one male, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
but that line is very popular, and I know that people that have from there's a main male from a company, and I know people that have offspring from them, and they don't necessarily they don't reproduce, right? Or they're not making. I think one person has has reproduced, but for the vast majority they're not. But I have tried it. I did try last year. Try taking like a my main guy to uh, like a yellow phantom hypo-y type animal, like very, 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 very light, because I wanted to like clean up okay, you have Dalmatians, what can you do with them without, okay, you make spotty, now what do I do with them? All right, clean up the base color, improve structure, all that stuff. So I was trying to clean up ba like base color too. Again, with this breeding and stuff, you're looking at, yeah, right now you want to make super spotty, but you should want to improve your animals as well. So I was trying to improve base color, and sometimes that means bringing in off animals that aren't spotty. In this case, I was bringing in some yellow hypo-y like phantom stuff to see if that would clean up the base color, and I got some funky stuff. It didn't do nothing, and so it made like yellow phantom pinstripe Dalmatian type stuff out of that. Um, and so I have not tried. I'm still on the hunt. Every now and then I'll see a Dalmatian and bring one in. Um, I had crossed some red Dalmatian stuff because red Dals typically have a clean base. Red spot Dals typically have a cleaner base, and so I had crossed that stuff into my yellows, um, to try to clean that stuff up. And I'm on second generation now. I'm just now having the adults grown up to breed to now put those. So I took like my main male into some females from Kenny at Cold Blooded Only, who's not breeding anymore. Some of his stuff that have a really super clean base, comes from great lineage. Not the spottiest of stuff, but that wasn't the goal. The goal was to clean the base up. And I had offsprings that, didn't have a lot of spots, but that wasn't the goal. The goal was to clean the base color up. And so then I kept those ones, raised those up, and they're actually breeding this year. I'll pair it to another male with that does good genetically, passing his spots, and hopefully can clean up that and add more spots. So it's a long-term thing with me. Sometimes, jumping the gun, and we all do it. We all want to do it. Is good and all, but you should want to improve, your group, and take it in a direction like Xanthics, right? Like pretty soon, like Phantom Xanthics to Phantom Xanthics, all that stuff. Like that's cool and all, but you should want to improve and start adding pattern now to your Xanthics and stuff like that. So always improve, and it's going to take years. You're going to have to create what you think might make, and then you have to keep those and grow those up, for a couple years, and then pair those. And so,
So
yeah.
devil's advocate real quick.
Mhm.
What if I just want to produce the biggest structured, biggest head Phantom Xanthics? I don't want no pattern, but I just want to be able to offer the blackest of the blackest Xanthics that reach 70 grams and have huge heads. Is
And
that
I have no opposition against that, because you have a goal in mind, right? You have a goal, and you're wanting to improve it in some way, right? I want to create big structured. I want to get them bigger, healthy, wider dorsal, improve the nostril size, like snout structure size and stuff like that. So I have nothing against, like, hey, if you want to create just Phantom Xanthics, like that's totally fine. What I was meaning is, like, some people are just getting them because they just want to make them and roll them out and sell them.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With no
Fast.
intention, just to make the fast money, no intention. That's fine if you want to do that too, but your goal in a hobby like this is should be to improve, you know, improve the hobby, improve the animal, and all that stuff. And so that's kind of how I look at things. I want to improve it. And so what can I do if it is Phantom Xanthics? What can I do to make this better? I want to make it darker and blacker. I want to improve the head structure and make it, I want big crowned or big, structured animals, wider dorsal and stuff like that. Like absolutely 100 go for that. That's, you have a goal in mind. I'm doing that with phantoms, like dark phantoms, And so, who's making some really, really dark Xanthics? Oh shoot, her name is Bev. She's a good friend. I can't think of her. Morph Galaxy Geckos.
Oh, Morph Galaxy. Yeah.
I think she's in California, somewhere West Coast. But she is making some dark. She had a girl at the Pomona show I was just at, and it was super fired up, and I almost got it, and just because how dark it was, and so. Yeah, I love the dark stuff. So yeah.
I think that's like a lost, not that it's lost, because I know there's a lot of people that do that, but I think that's a lost thing to mention as far as beginners starting things. Everybody is chasing after I want to breed it so that I can sell it and be the first to have a visual of it and stuff like that. But with goal oriented breeding is not something that, even when I first started, is not something that was mentioned as like one of the top things to do. It was more buy good lineage, or whatever the case may be, but it was never like that should be pushed more is what I'm trying to say. You know, breed more with intention instead of trying to speed there's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with taking your time doing it. Um that's not pushed as much if I'm making sense right there,
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. I think, if you take the time, you breed what you like, and you have a vision, they will, and you're doing it for business and you want to sell them, they will sell. I saw a gecko today that I was like, I fucking want one of those, and this guy started from scratch. It was a stable, and he started from scratch, and his first stable he brought in a stable the same time I did, and mine was turned boy and his turned girl, and so his has been slower, but the shit he's put it to um has been outstanding, right? The stables he's making has been outstanding, and then he just put one today on his Instagram that I was like, I fucking want that. Like, I don't need any more stables, but I want that. I like what he's doing, and so you have a goal in mind, stick to that, and you know people will notice and all that stuff. So
We say it all. I say it all the time, anyways. That people will buy your passion. Your passion sells. Animals, morphs. They're like trends. They come, they go. They're hot. They're not. What sells is someone's passion. How much care and how strategically they pair certain animals. I mean, it's more than an animal adds to a value, at least in my opinion. It's someone's passion into a project makes it mean more to me than a simple morph for a phenotype that's likely gonna be out of style in a month.
yeah. And if it is, out of style, like, I know like caps have tanks, but I'm still working with them. I have a vision of the way I want to take
Oh
my
yeah.
caps, and
I love caps.
yeah, I have a vision. I made the ones I kept back were girls, excuse me, and I have a vision on how I wanted to take them, and they're being paired. I think one just laid eggs. I was looking earlier, and so I got eggs, and so hopefully they come out how I'm expecting them to come out. But I think people would like them, and so yeah, even if you don't feel, people are like, hey, I got this cap, so I try to sell it. Like, I know they're not worth anything. Like, no, like keep it, and if you have a vision of something that you think will look cool, try to work and strive to that, and because if it's visually appealing, it doesn't matter if it's a freaking cap or a harlequin or something like that. Like, someone's gonna like it, and they'll get that, and they'll want to work with that. So
Agree.
Anthony just has some caps and fraps hats today. Congratulations.
oh, nice.
Thank you. I love them. I'm the type of guy that waits till everybody does everything they're gonna do with a morph, and for it to be out of style before I get in. I want to see what everyone can do. I watch, I observe, I look, and then I see the things that haven't been done and what I would do, and I come up with a plan. And if I really really like it, like I said, I just got into caps. I got the money. I could have bought them a long time ago.
Yeah.
I waited to see what everyone was doing, what people again weren't doing. I genuinely liked some of the what was happening with the gene, some of the things it was doing. And I thought that I could do something special. So I said, you know what? Now is the time. Now I'm going to do it. The money doesn't matter. I don't care how much or what the resale value is, or, and I don't want to sound like a pompous smug fuck. I care less what the market's doing. This shit don't affect me.
Yeah.
From swing a hammer, man. It's the last thing I want. When I don't sell animals, I'm less stressed. Selling them and shipping them and all that just brings stress to my world. I just want to
Absolutely.
living. I want to make cool shit, man. I want to, share it with people. I want to talk to people that have the same passion and interest. The selling aspect for me personally just puts stress in it. And I'm human. Who doesn't want extra money, especially to get paid for something you enjoy doing? But it's not all peaches and cream when you're dealing with customers. And, you sell an animal and say, listen, I'm not shipping until the weather's this point. And then they message you 40 times a week asking if, it's good to ship. And it's like, here's your money back. Like, go away. Like, I'll keep the animal. I didn't want to sell it in the first place. Like, stop.
Customer service, Anthony. Customer service.
There's been another issue of mine that I have been working on. I am not the biggest people person, right? I am not the biggest people person. But in order to do this, like Mark says, you have to have a little customer service, and it and that has been another one of my biggest challenges is working and communicating with people. That's why I had, again, people gave me some advice like, hey, going in front of cameras. And so 2 years ago, I started on my Instagram stories or on Instagram, hey guys, blah, 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 and just talking. And it turned into I would do 30 takes of that. I'm in my work truck and I would do 30 takes. Now it's the first take, I'm getting better. I've made it to a point that I know I'm not a people person, and it's way out of my comfort zone. I've made it a goal to try to do the palm streets. The palm streets still make me extremely nervous, right? I'm fucking sweating. You can't see it, but I am sweating on the other side, and I see that there's 100 people fucking watching, and there's only 5 people talking in the chat. I'm like, who the hell are all these eyeballs and stuff? And so the last 2 years, I've made it a goal to try to get out of my comfort zone. And again, I'm using tools that I learned in rehab and all that stuff, is get out of your comfort zone. Communicate more, engage more. I started going to a lot more shows, and I just went to Pomona and hung out with some good people over there. For me, the only way to get more comfortable is to do it, right? And so, but yeah, I feel you, man. The DMs, I just had same thing is I feel I'm pretty lenient when shipping, right? I feel I ship pretty cold. I'm pretty confident in my shipping and stuff like that. But it was 13 degrees where they were, and I was like, hey, I can't ship this week. And they're like, well, I'm getting shipped from these people, and how come you're not shipping? And you want to be you want to say something bad, but I have to be
I do. I told Bastard, I'm going to go check it, bro. Listen, I'm going to tell you once, we're both grown men here. You want me to ship it? I'm going to ship your fucking gecko, but I'm not responsible for nothing. It's 12 degrees here, bro. It's 12 degrees. You want them? You send me an email saying that you are taking full responsibility for it, brother. I will be glad to drive to FedEx and get this animal out of here. I sold them because I want the room, right? If I didn't want you to have this animal, you wouldn't have this animal. Trust me. But I'm not going to send it to you and it die, and I'm responsible, and I got to replace it. You're all over social media saying that I just sent you a dead animal. We're not doing all that, dude.
Yeah.
It's just I don't understand what people don't understand.
It's not that they don't understand. Is everybody is going to try to get over in anything. You just have to be patient. Patience is a virtue. And what happens is, you got to understand, from all outlooks of the hobby, you have different people doing different things. It's the same way as, look what Andrew just said. For example, I got a 35 gram male. I like to wait to 45 grams. Okay, you like to wait to 45 grams. At the end of the day, I'll pull out the Rapashi book. It tells you you're good at 35 grams. Tweedledee over there says 50 grams. Tweedledum over here says 30 grams. You 25. So same thing goes with the shipping. And the understanding is, there's a certain time frame. Morph Market will tell you this. There's different guidelines. Red Line Shipping has it open for there's -5. You want to ship, you ship. This person, Mark from the Gecko Room, is sending that shit out in snowstorms. Yeah, everybody's doing different things, and you just have to have the understanding that, Anthony, you know a lot of people. Whitetanks, you know a lot of people. Mark, you're famous. Just don't laugh too much, Andrew. Come on, man. You guys know a lot of people. The people buying from you guys may not know all of these things or all of these people, and they may be so anxious, bro. Hey, I just got a freaking red from Anthony. Oh my god, bro! I got a freaking King Stripe from Whitetanks. When is that coming? When is that coming? Let me get. And it's the excitement. Just customer service
You're better
that
off
thing.
having it alive, right? Don't you want it alive?
Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
trying to decrease the odds of anything bad happening. You know,
a lot of them are gonna try to put pressure, send that as soon as possible. But I would say 99% of the time when I give this explanation in a nice Chat GPT text, they're like, okay, no problem. You have to wait. That's your business. That's the animals' lives first, you know?
I never, so another rule of thumb is I never badmouth another breeder or anything like that. Even, and this one was like, hey, I got two people shipping to me in their 13-degree weather. And I said, oh, that's fine. They're if that's what they're comfortable with, then that's fine. I typically will go down to like 30. I feel comfortable going down to 30 and but not 13. I'm not comfortable. I couldn't offer any guarantees for you. So, how about, how about we wait another week or a couple weeks, like your gecko will be fed and take care of. So I try to, and okay, and all that stuff. And and try not to be the one, sure, do I want to be like, yeah, well, they shouldn't be shipping, but I again positive, positive, I try to leave it up to, everybody does it. Everybody does it different, whatever they're comfortable with. I know people on the other hand that only want to ship between freaking 60 and 75. And in that case, like I would never get an animal here because it's already 82 degrees here, and it's February. And so yeah, I try to push it, is try not to badmouth other breeders and, it let them know like, hey, that they're comfortable with whatever they're comfortable with, that's with on them and take it with them and stuff. But this is what I'm comfortable with. And at this point, I'm going to opt not to ship. And so, and usually I usually have a good response. Sometime I don't get a response back. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'll take that too. So.
Speaking of shipping, what have you had any issues? Because half of my reason with the shipping is I don't really sell animals. Mark has been encouraging me to step into that lane, but I just don't. It is 30 degrees okay? What are you doing to because I know a lot of people do. That's like their bottom line, like 30 degrees, then I'll ship. I need it to be a minimum of 30 degrees at nighttime to ship. Have you had problems? Are you using heat packs? How do you set up your...
Yeah, so one thing I will say with anything is educate yourself, right? I think vast majority of a lot of people fail to educate themselves on how the products work, whether that's your shipping box, half inch versus 3/4 inch versus 1 inch, your heat pack, 40 hour, 72 hour, 96 hour, how those work, what's the difference, what size box goes with them, ice packs versus Cairo packs. The Cairo pack is not an ice pack. It's a phase change material, right? How it works when it's at a solid state below 74 degrees, most is 74 degrees, right? So Below 74 degrees, it turns into a solid state. Above 74 degrees, it turns into a liquid state. So educating yourself on how the materials work, and unfortunately, a lot of people don't want to do that. They want to be lazy, and they just, if it's not within perfect temps where they don't have to think about all that other shit, then they're not going to do it. But you can safely. I've shipped over 1,000 animals through my years. I've never had a DOA. I've never had a animal die within the 7 days, right? I give a live arrival guarantee. If I say I'll ship it to you, and if it arrives dead, I'll refund you, right? I give a 7-day health guarantee, right? I've never had anything die within the 7 days, and I use heat packs, ice packs, cryo packs, and everything in between in coordination. Once you understand and you watch videos, there's many videos out there to watch and understand how they work. Shipping is very safe. I've shipped down into the teens before because there was an export going on, right? I've shipped in 16, 17 degree weather, and the animal had to go out. No issues. Heat pack was still hot and all that stuff. I've shipped in 123 degree weather in the middle of August in Arizona because an export had to go out. And I used an ice pack in coordination with the cryo pack. And, when it got to its from here to New York, when I got to New York, hey, is the ice pack still cold? Yeah, it's still fucking solid, and the cryo pack is still solid. Great, right? Also learning at the times that that animals ship, right? The animals ship at night and they travel at night, right? So some people, and then they arrive to its destination if it's going to a hub early in the morning, right? Like 5 in the morning, and it's going to its hub and it's sitting there inside at 5 in the morning. So I don't really take thought, me personally. Now you may ask different people and they'll tell you, but me personally, I don't really take thought of the daytime temp at the arrival destination if it's going to a hub, right? Because so in Phoenix, it might be 90 degrees for a high, but it's getting here at 5 a.m. when it's 60 degrees, right? We have 40-degree temp swings from night to day, right? And it's going straight and it's sitting inside. So I don't, really look at the high temperature at the arrival destination. I do take in consideration the temperature at the midway hubs, right? So shipping west to east or east to west, you're either going to go through most likely Memphis or Indianapolis. And so those are where you're going to have your delays. So that's where I take most of my consideration is the midway hub. Okay, what's the temp right now? So Memphis has a climate controlled building. It's not air conditioning and it's not like totally heated. It's climate controlled open face warehouse deal. And I've done the research in the buildings and how they are. And so when they take the containers, the freaking half moon shaped containers out of the airplane, right? They get sorted, and if there's a delay, they get stuck in there, right? And so there are workers there, so do they have some sort of heat? Yeah. Same thing with the summertime, they have like swamp cooler type, right? They don't have air conditioning. So I take more in consideration of the midway hubs and if they're going to get delayed. And so I pack for that. I also pack when I'm shipping out of Arizona, right? It's warm here, but it's going to a cold location. So I need a heat pack, but it's a little warm here right now. So it's like 83 degrees today. I shipped some packages yesterday. So I need it to stay cold right now, but I need it to stay warm enough to go, right? So I'll use like a refrigerated or a frozen cryo pack, a phase pack, next to an activated heat pack, right? The cold cryo pack keeps it the internal box cold enough to get out of Phoenix, right? Because they don't fly out of Phoenix till 9, 10 o'clock at night. But the heat pack in there will sustain the temperature warm enough to fly through the midway hubs into its destination. I have done some testing a few years ago. Typically, what I see with a heat pack and a cryo pack, you typically get your temperatures are like in the 60 degrees, right? A lot of people think they're going to put a heat pack in there and it's going to get like 100 degrees. I've never gotten over like 68 degrees. Even in like a 777, a small box with a heat pack and one Gecko. And then same thing with the summertime shipping out too. I'll use a 6-ounce ice pack with a phase pack. And I did a test 2 or 3 summers ago where the internal temperature in my garage was 132 degrees. I was temping it, and I wanted to see what I can get away with and how long does it take. I set up everything how I would ship minus the Gecko, and instead of the Gecko, I put a Gobi temperature deal in there. And it took 2 days for the temperature. So once the box stabilized and it dropped down into like, because I used the ice pack with a phase pack, it dropped down to like the 50s, which people are going to be like, that's cold. That's how cold when you ship and shit like that. Your temperatures are like in the 60s, right? Like for real. Once it dropped down and stabilizes and it was at like 60 degrees, it took 2 days for it to get above like 78 degrees, right? In a 132 degree garage, right? It took 2 days to get over with a face pack and a solid and an ice pack, right? It took 40 something hours. I forgot how it was. Once it hit like 70, once it hit 78 degrees, and they can go into the 80s too. But once it hit 70, 8 degrees, I'm like, oh, okay, barring like something, they're never usually, I've had delayed leaving out of your origin destination, right? So I've had that one time where an airplane broke down and it didn't leave Phoenix for like a day, but you can't help that. Yeah, shipping, I ship down in the 30s. I've shipped down in the 20s and the teens before, never had an issue. I've shipped into the 120s. Now, is that my preference? No, my preference is 105 degrees to 30 degrees. Anywhere in there is my preference. If I tell you I'll get the animal there alive, leave that to me, and I will put the corresponding ingredients in the box, ice pack, face pack, heat pack, whatever you need in combination with each other. And I've had success. I have not, knock on wood, I have not had any DOAs or even any animal deaths within the 7 day that I know of. No one's contacted me over 1,000 shipments.
In your box too? Do you poke holes in the box?
For heat packs, I poke holes in the box, right? Read the instructions. If you read the instructions, it says poke at least poke at least 2 holes in the box. So even if it's going down into freezing temperatures, I'll still poke 2 holes in the box to relieve the excess, if the excess gas or heat or whatever, if it gives off. That's what it's supposed to be. But putting that phase pack in there, so anytime I ship with the heat pack, I put a solid phase pack in there. So that means it's below. I usually have some in the refrigerator, and that's below 74 degrees, and I put that next to the heat pack, and so it's like a buffer, And so I love using phase packs they go in every one of my shipments, and so yeah, I poke holes, 6-ounce ice packs, and obviously separation, right? So the smallest box I'll ship in with a heat pack is a 777. If you're shipping one Gecko, right, I want at least some sort of buffer or separation. If not, anything more than one Gecko will go in a 1296, and you do the heat pack base pack on one side, the geckos on the other side, and paper in between, just to have some sort of, buffer situation, and make sure the heat pack, make sure it's packed good so it's not fucking bouncing all over the place and stuff like that.
And you're using your typical like 8 ounce, right? 8 ounce deli cups.
Yeah, 8 ounce or 12 ounces. Yep.
Awesome. That's a huge accomplishment, dude. That many animals and never, an issue. That's huge.
Yeah, I just think understanding, a little
The
reading and
process.
education,
Sure.
and understanding, the materials and how stuff goes a long
Absolutely.
way. And so, and nothing against, if people aren't comfortable with that, then that is fine. That is what you're comfortable with. But I have just seen recently, someone's like, we don't ship with heat packs because they're unsafe. And often, more times than not, your animal, arrives dead. And I've shipped with hundreds of heat packs and I've never had an issue. And it's very safe. You just have to know how to use it. You're not going to put also the size, 40 hour, 72 hour, 96 hour in there. They get hot. They get hotter. So the bigger the heat pack, it's slower to get hot, slower, and they don't get as hot the bigger, but you have more of a mass, right? So I typically like to use 40-hour heat packs. They get hot pretty quicker, but they're smaller, right? So I like it smaller. I don't like a big heat pack. But I talked to other good friends that they like using 72 for everything, and they have no issues. So, and that's what they like, and that's totally fine by them. I have a preference. I rather have the smaller, thinner heat pack. I also know people too. I've never done it, but a lot of people I know will put the heat packs on the outside of the cardboard and the styrofoam, right? I personally haven't done that, but I talked to a good friend yesterday that was shipping, and she had put one in between, and she said she likes that, and gets good results with that. And so again, it's all, get information from each person, and see what you like and how you like to do it. I actually made some I'm not on YouTube or anything like that, but I did make 4 videos on how to ship um for somebody. I had to put it on YouTube because the video size was too big to like text or email, and so you had to put it on YouTube because of the file size. But I had made a video on how I ship, and using those things. But yeah,
And
I
it's
would
on
say winter
YouTube.
shipping.
It's up
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Guys, if you ever
it's
need
on
questions or you want to check out how to
YouTube.
ship or you're worried about shipping, check out Is your YouTube channel White Tanks Exotics?
It's white tank. It's only those 4 videos on shipping. I had
That's
made them
awesome.
for one
That's good.
person, and then they're on there. But a lot of
It's a
times when
great
people will
reference for
ask,
people. I know when I shipped my first box, I watched every video I could find on
it's
how to do
stressful.
it.
It
And then I've
it's
obviously paid attention to the hundreds of animals I've had shipped to me over the years. I
Yeah,
take that into consideration, when the package was shipped, just from tracking, and
yeah,
trying to track the way is always my hardest thing. And again, being cold, shipping to somewhere that's usually warmer than where I am living in Connecticut, it's always, again, something that bothers me. Like if I were to ship to Arizona where it's 100 degrees, I need it to be warm now, but not warm in 8, 9, 10 hours, 12 hours. It's
hmm
usually stressful, but I try to use a
it
shorter.
is extremely stressful shipping. I still get every once in a while. I still, more unfortunately, delays have become a common in the industry, which is unfortunate. But you know, shipped for delays. try to, I had delays this week too, and people were freaking out. And I'm like, hey, I got you. Even if it's delayed and something happens, I'll take care of you. I personally, I don't ship during storms, like a fucking winter storm. Um, and I made the mistake one time. I didn't ship out. I got an animal shipped to me, and it was a breeder in Florida, and it was probably around this time. So their temperature's good, my temperature good, but they didn't check the midway hub, and they shipped out like on a Monday, and there were some high dollar animals, and a fucking like a blizzard or something hit Memphis, and they were stuck from Monday, and I got them Saturday. They were able to push them through Saturday. And I remember I reached out, I was like, "Hey, you at least put like a phase pack in there, right? Or a heat pack?" And they were like, "No." I'm like, "Okay." And they're like, "Don't worry about it. We'll take care of you." And I picked them up Saturday, and they're ice cubes. And so, but I didn't check. That was the first time I didn't check, because this breeder is well known, and I'm like, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to check temperatures. Usually when I get from other people I try to support all types of breeders, small breeders, new breeders. If there's something that I like, I'll buy the animal from them. And I need fresh blood and stuff to come in. And so usually I'll check. I'm like, okay, where are they at? Where's it going through? Make sure there's no fucking storms. And I didn't do that with this person. And so that was the first and last time. Now I do that. So don't ship during storms. Check the midway hub, because the two destination arrival and destination, or the two beginning and end hub might be great, but that midway hub can get you.
Huge factor. Memphis doesn't have a good reputation as far as the reptile hobby. I hate to say it, but if there's ever an issue that I've ever heard of or I've personally had, it's usually been Memphis, man.
Yeah.
I had a gecko come when I first started buying geckos, say 2018-ish, man, and he knows about it, so it doesn't really matter saying his name, but I had it come from David, man, at Tiki's. This thing showed up 5 days late. That joker was alive. I opened the box up, it was live, fine. I actually have that video on my YouTube channel. He popped out of the box. He was, took him out of the cup. I wanted feeding him a mealworm right on my hand that minutes after he got out of the box, man, for being stuck in shipping for 5 days, man. He was fine.
Yeah. Yeah, they're very hardy. If there's no storms or shit like that, they just got lost or delayed and stuff. Like, you got to think about exports and imports, or even doing shows. If you're traveling for shows and stuff like that, they're in a deli cup for 4, 5, 6 days, and so as long as they're hydrated and fed before, they usually do well. I've had one delayed for like a week coming to me, and I got it, and it was a little dehydrated, but nothing that you can't fix and stuff like that.
How
Same
long
with
do
it,
those
same with
imports
import.
normally take you? I mean, since you've ordered from all over the world, what's the longest, I should say? What was the longest import process you
So
experienced?
the smoothest has been the Korean import. I will give it to them. They really take care of the animals, and they feed them and hydrate them and give you clean enclosures, and little monsters here, that takes them here and ships them. They will change out paper towels, and so you're not getting crappy um animals. But the worst experiences have been the ones from Europe. Um, I've used multiple. There's like three different types of Dutch dragon, Colubra. And then there's another one. I've used them all, and I don't know what it is. They've all the animals come. Usually when they do the exporting out of Europe, they do them amount. around the major. There's like the Ham Expo. I think it's in Germany. There's Ham and there's another one. And so usually that's when all of like Europe goes there. And so everybody takes their animals there, and they're going there like early in the week. So those animals are being cupped like Monday, but then they're not getting shipped out like Monday, Tuesday the following week, and then they're coming to the United States, and then they might not drop ship them straight out the hub. They might take them back home and then pack them and ship them out the next day. I know Dutch Dragon imports, like a lot of times they only do, these imports are only throughout the year. Like, say I've had animals that I've imported before, but the import wasn't like for like 3 months, and those breeders like sent them to Dutch Dragon, and Dutch Dragon took care of them and housed them in their facilities. And it's like, do they know how to house them or whatever? Like, because they do all species. And so by far, like the European, and nothing, I love my European breeders and all that stuff. They're great. I would just say the import process is can use some improvement, a lot of improvement. And so I've had, not just me, a lot of other people usually get the animals, they're in like terrible condition. The deli, they've been sitting in, they've been spraying them, but nothing's cleaned out, so they're sitting in, freaking half-inch of shit water. And I've had some animals that have passed away shortly after arriving, and unfortunately with any of those, there's no guarantees or anything like that, right? So if you're import exporting, nothing's a guarantee. And that leads me to like another biggest tip I tell people is, do not spend money you can't afford to lose, right? Don't spend money you don't have. You put all your marbles in one bucket, and these are living creatures, living animals, and you don't know if they're going to breed. You don't know if something's going to happen. You don't know if it's going to develop a deformity and stuff. And so don't spend money don't spend money you don't have. And yeah, that's a big thing I try to live by, because I've seen people freaking take second mortgages out and
I was gonna
stuff
say,
like
man, I've
that.
seen
And
people
Can't do it.
do.
yeah.
I can't do it. Could you since you have so much experience with importing, exporting from all of these different countries and stuff like that, for the beginner, would you be able to at least recommend 3 people that you would recommend from Europe, maybe 3 people from Korea, if people were looking to import, export from, that you could maybe put a stamp on and say, hey, these guys are good, at least work with
So
them, if anything?
it's not the breeder is
It's
the
the shipping.
issue. It's the shipping like process. In
Gotcha.
in Korea,
It's fetal, right?
like
Fetal's awesome.
which is fetal. And before fetal, I was importing from Korea before fetal was a company, and you had to use a broker. Like, his name is Isaac, I mean bro, on Instagram, and you would he was a broker, and he would do the import export and all that stuff. And like literally they get the animals like today, they'll package them, take pictures of all of them, send you pictures of each animal to every person, hand feed them all. Tomorrow on the plane, go out, right? They come to the United States, well, whatever, freaking 11 hours later, however long it is. And then Anthony and Jess do a great job at repackaging them and sending them out. So, like, they're literally packaged away for like 2 days, which is, I mean, you can get delayed longer here. Um, the so in Europe, there's only a few companies so Dutch Dragon Import, you can import through them. Calubra is another company, and then there's another. They're not really like a company. It's like they do it. It's another guy that I have his contact info, and I've tried them all. and they're all about the same. And it's getting quite expensive nowadays to import from Europe. It's like the fee is like $100 an animal. So plus shipping when it gets to the United States. So if you're bringing 5 animals over, like you're paying the animal price plus 500, you know. And it used to be like 3/4 of that price. You know, it was like $30 an animal. You know,
Wow, that's a jump. Have you done
so
Canada?
I was just gonna say here,
oh,
Canada's pricey too.
I have done Canada through Reptile. I think it's Reptile Express. And Canada's been great. Same thing. They only depending on Canada's real cold, so depending on when they're out of being frozen, they usually ship out. So yeah, I've had I brought in some Reptile Express, I think, is the company that handles Canada. Reptile Runner, Reptile Express, and they're good too. I have had no issues from Canada. I've had multiple shipments from Canada. Exquisite geckos, all Dalmatians. I brought all Dalmatians from Canada, from a few different, and I've exported to Canada. I've sent some animals there. Um, Usually you ship it to New York, to like Buffalo is where like Reptile Express is or whatever, and then he like drives them like over the border and then ships them from the like with the Canadian shipping company and intra shipping company there, and ships them whatever that is over there. So Canada's real smooth, Korea's real smooth. Never had an issue with any of those. Issues with Europe. Won't share. I'll order. I'll every time I get a shipment in from Europe, I'm like, I ain't fucking getting from Europe anymore. Again, it's not the breeders. The breeders are awesome. It's
The importer,
the shipping process could use a little bit, um can be a little bit better for the animal.
When you order from Ukraine, do those have to go to ham too? Like, do they get
Yeah.
sent there? Or do they come back from Ukraine? They do, right?
Yeah, they all go to the whatever the big show is, and I think it's in Germany. They all go because all those guys, that's where everybody meets and stuff, and um that's usually where the
I think
collection
the
spot
company
is.
has like a table in a sense there. Like from what I gather, I
Hmm.
talked to a few people and I've had buddies that have imported animals and they all go to that show. And the way they made it sound to me was that the importer almost has a table at ham. Like they collect the animals at the show to get ready for mass imports to the state type of thing. So do all the paperwork, collect all the animals. That's why I asked about Ukraine because I talked to someone, I don't know if it was Ireland or no, it wasn't. It was Switzerland. Switzerland. So the animal was coming from Switzerland and it had to go from Switzerland to ham to order to come here. So the breeder had to send it to the importer at the show to get it to come to the country.
That's
Interesting.
usually
That's
what
it.
that's
Hard on the
usually
animal just in general, and all that bouncing around, like you're saying. I mean, it seems like Korea is much more streamlined, right to the U.S. These other animals go to country to country to country in Europe before they ever get to the United States.
Yeah, and the ones from the Ukraine or that I've imported from were from Bion. Bion, I don't know, is a big um, producer company out there, and they're still breeding. Like they got their facility up and running, and they breed all sorts of different types of species and stuff
Yeah, I
like
know who they
that.
are. I remember when they posted all the pictures of them getting bombed. I remember seeing the place
Yeah,
in ruins.
yeah. So they're the ones out of the Ukraine, but yeah, I would say, if for Europe, it's a gamble. If there's something, I would say if there's something you absolutely got to have, absolutely get it. I'm always kind of searching the grid for something to add in, or if I got an idea for like this, this project, like I'm doing this thick white pen empty back stuff right now, and I need something else to add into it. And so I've been kind of looking around to see what else is. And if it's something that I don't find here, I have no problem with importing, exporting it with any of the countries. I say if you can't find it here, by all means, and it's something that's gonna, you feel that's gonna take your group to the next level, then by all means, import. You'll never get out of me saying like, oh, you shouldn't freaking import, it's bad for us or whatever like that. Because I mean, I do it. So,
So, bringing it back towards some of the projects, how we doing on time? First of all, with everybody, everybody's good, or I don't want to.
I'm
I know
whatever,
we.
whatever you guys want to
All right, good, because we were here till 3 o'clock in the morning. No, I'm just. Um,
do.
bringing it back real quick. Just because I know you work with so many different morphs and things like that. What's your thoughts on cappuccino? Do you feel that it's reached its max, or is there a lot more to discover with it? Your opinion, like, do
Oh,
you
there's
think?
there's still tons of opportunity with it. I mean, there's still tons of opportunity for like lily white, and so yeah, cappuccino. I'm taking my cappuccinos to like again, I like dark, so like a black white type look cappuccino. I think like cappuccinos do well, in my personal opinion. I think cappuccinos do complements like tricolor the best, like the orangey and all that stuff. I like, I don't think I've seen too many, but like tiger cappuccinos with, I think would be cool because what the cappuccino gene does. And so, again, that's improving the gene. So I still think there is a ton of improvement to do with the cappuccinos. Me personally, I rather have like a nice cappuccino than a frappuccino. I think like the fraps are a little bit easier. I love them both. Like no knock to any of them, but I think it's easier to make a high coverage frap or a high coverage sable lily white than it is to make a nice covered sable or a nice covered cappuccino, right? And so I have two different groups of caps this year. One is like a black and white group. I just love I like that, right? I like dark stuff, so really black base with like the like white. Um, and then I have like a high white cappuccino girl that I produced um, over, I think she's second or third generation. So I paired a cap to a high white, made this one, grew that one out, paired that to a high white. Now I have this one that I grew out, and I'm pairing that. I just hope that I can identify that it's cap because um, so that I think I really love what the cappuccino gene with the melanin and stuff does to the contrast and the base color. It's appealing to me because I like dark stuff, right? And um, so yeah, I think there's still a lot of improvement to do.
That's one of the other questions I was leading to. So, being that you've worked with cap so much, you've worked with frap, you work with lily white. Is there any definitive markings, or how are you telling them apart? Like, what's the best way? I know I get a lot of questions with, a, is this a frap, is this a lily white, is this a cap, is this a normal? Like, are there any telltale signs that you have figured out are, a, if it has this, if it's doing this, if you see this, it's a cap,
Yeah, I
frap?
think that goes back to like when we were talking about like it's many different factors. It's not just one thing, right? It can be for fraps and sable lily whites. It's a combination of the coloration and white coloration, the coloration of the, if does it have a head stamp that it's growing, right? Typically all sable lily whites and fraps have a head stamp, coming. Same thing with sable lily whites and fraps. Fraps tend to and sable lily whites tend to change color as they grow, more cream out and stuff like that. But usually when they are at first hatch, they are very, very bright white, in my experience, with the stuff I have here. So, and you will know it compared to a normal lily white, right? And so I would say with
You'll
that
see that
cappuccino,
difference.
yeah, you
You see that difference,
typically,
right?
and I hate saying like, oh, you just have to look at it. Sometimes it is, you have to look at it, and then time and experience and hatching enough out. Same thing with caps. There are some identification markers, but not all. Like, I know it used to be like, oh, the Y at the tail. That doesn't mean nothing to me. The Y at the tail is just an indicator that pinstripe is present, not really that there's cappuccino. But the coloration of the Y at the tail can be a marker, right? So the coloration, the dark, same thing with sable, the darker tail can be a marker, but not a tall tail. I know with my stuff and the sables I have, I kind of know what they make, and so it's the coloration of their dorsal and the poofiness and the lateral markings, right? They have a different coloration to them compared to like a normal, right? Like, and so that's kind of how I tell. There are a ton of factors to go into, to identifying them. I would say there's not just one factor. So, but they're pretty tell. Like if you have a guaranteed fat frap or a guaranteed cap, and you start hatching out babies, it's one of those, just by looking at them, even if you don't have any experience, you'll be like, that doesn't look like that one, you know. Um, and again, I've hatched out a bunch of lily whites. So when you hatch out a frap or a sable lily white, you're like, this doesn't look like a normal lily white. Usually a lot of fraps and sable lily whites have, with my stuff, again, this is just my notification with my collection. A lot of my fraps and sable lily whites don't have like that, like a third color, no tricolor, right? It's either like the white and the dark base, and it's very bright, where like you'll hatch out a normal lily white and you'll see like the white and the base color and some tricolor in there, some third color or something like that, and it's a little bit more yellow. Um, and so a number of factors, but they're pretty easy to tell. I would even say for a novice. And then if you have questions, send it to somebody. Somebody sent me one the other day, and I was like, that's not a cappuccino. Um, and so yeah.
And then and there, it's nothing definitive because you always have that one off where it might not look like one, but when you in doubt, you breed it out, and if you do get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. Right? Have you ever seen one? I've seen a few that people have said, "Oh, everybody said this was not a cap. This was not a cap," and it
Yeah.
proved out to be one. You
So I
know?
will I will say caps, fraps, and sables do change drastically and look more like a cap, frap, and sable as they grow. So I always tell people, if you're not sure, there's been stuff that I wasn't sure was sable or even cap,
Yeah.
but I kept it. It was like, it's questionable. And then it hit like 15 grams, and it's like, okay, like that base color isn't a normal base color, right? Like, or the pattern or the coloration, and that for sure 100% is a sable or a cappuccino and all that stuff. So I would typically tell people to grow them out a little bit, and you'll be able to tell. And if you're not sure, if you're buying a possible one, obviously, yeah, breed it out, and see what you make.
What about with Exanthic and caps. I know you have done those pairings as well.
Hmm. So,
Are you
so the in my opinion, you again, you can tell the white. So when you hatch visual Xanthic cappuccinos, the coloration on the what I've noticed, the white, the base of the tail is a lot brighter. The overall coloration, the ones that are have cap in them, they're like a brown. You can see like that melanin that like peeking through. It's like a brown gray. Xanthic is like gray, right? Like a brown gray, and it's a totally different color as they grow. Compare, especially when you hatch one out that doesn't have it, right? Same thing with uh, sable Xanthic and regular Xanthic. Like you can tell the white pattern on the sable Xanthics, it doesn't go away, you know. Um, and then same thing with the white pattern on the Xanthic caps. Unfortunately, I mean it's not unfortunate, but like the white pattern doesn't go away on the Xanthic caps, but it does yellow out as they age. Where white pattern without cap stays white. It does. So a lot of baby Xanthics will hatch out with a lot of white, and then it fades away as they get adults, right? But it stays. That white pattern will stay white. With caps, it will turn. It will stay. The white pattern will stay, but it will turn yellow. So like my adult Xanthic caps and stuff like that, they're like a browny gray with yellow dorsal, and then the Xanthic sables, the white actually increases. So I have a good friend. She just showed me her sable Xanthic that she got from me, um, and the white's actually increasing. It looks really nice. So it can get tricky when you mix phantom. Um, when you mix phantom into it and you start hatching out phantom versions, it can get tricky. Um, but then again, that's where I would say like anything else, time and experience comes in, and you start to catch an eye. Now I'm at the point where it's like something, something can catch out, and I'm like, okay, that's that, like for certain. And so, but it can get tricky, if people are jumping right into that and don't have a lot of experience, um, it can get tricky trying to identify phantom versions of them for sure.
um when you're, well, let me see, how can I, when you're, I mean, you do sables and you do caps, so you're pretty much, when you're saying all of these things, it's pertaining to your collection because you work with your collection so much, you're visually seeing these things. um you're able to decipher that. When somebody else is working and doing other stuff, it may be more difficult for them, basically.
Correct. Yeah. So I've bred like my sables now. This is third year, and so I know the type of sables. I have a pinstripe sable, and then I have a Harlequin type sable. He's a 100% het axe sable, and so I know the type of sables that he makes with the type of with the girls that I put him with. I don't really put him with like everything. I try to put him like the pinstripe sables. I'm putting him with pinstripe sables or pinstripe girls because I want that big, thick, freaking white pinstripe. And so um, once you start breeding in your group and you start multiple generations and breeding multiple years, you start to get an eye, an example, of an understanding of what your breeders produce, what they can produce. And I
Competitive.
can look at something and I can be like, okay, that one is. I've seen people explain before, like, they don't typically produce anything like this. Now I got a cricket chirping. Um, they don't typically produce something like this because you get to know your breeders. But yeah, I could see where it can get difficult if you just buy some, your some sub adult, sables or something, and you just start to pair them, and then they hatch out and you're not sure what they are. That's
Yeah,
when.
I'm asking for the person that just bought a sable and it's their first time pairing it. You
Mhm.
they get excited, or if cappuccino, sable, whatever the case may be.
Yeah,
They always looking for that. Is it one? Is it one?
yeah.
Well, basically, I just want to make sure that it's clear for everybody. It's repetitiveness, always looking at the babies at hatch, seeing the differences, and finally letting it click visually. Like,
Mhm.
I can tell the difference between the whites in a regular lily white and a sable lily white,
Take a picture
cappuccino,
too.
frappuccino. Take pictures, and that will help you start to see it, because even I mean, you'll like I even myself, there's one or two that I have that I just kept because I'm like, what the hell is it? I
Yeah.
I'm I'm going both ways with it, and I get a lot of people that ask me, hey, is this a frap? Is this a cap? Is this a Nobody asked me about sable because I don't even produce sables. So, but but the one thing I say, or I feel, is once you have that repetitiveness of seeing it, you start to understand the differences, and then you it's like that first time you see a lily white hatch, it's
Yeah.
like, oh shoot, that's a lily white. I know it looks completely different than everything else. And then when you have that cap hatch, that white in it just looks different than a normal type of deal.
Yeah, do your homework. So when I was first bringing Sable over, I was looking at do your homework. Look at Morph Market. Look at the cappuccinos on there. Look on Fetal. Look at a lot of, people type in on Instagram cappuccino crested geckos and see, look on a lot of Korean accounts. They show a lot of babies at hatch, right? And that's what I did when I was first getting Sable, because I'm like, okay, we didn't have Sable to you had Gabby and you had Gecko Haven were about the only ones that had Sable here, and they weren't selling them yet, right? And so I was bringing one over. I'm like, okay, well, what? Obviously, I'll ask Gabby and see what she says and how do you identify them. But and so I started asking for, hey, do you have any hatchling pictures? I started looking at accounts, Korean accounts and stuff like that. What do these babies? What do they look like at hatch? Right? Because a lot of people post their, when they're excited about something, they post it right off at hatch. And so do your homework, look at, cat babies, and you'll start to notice a trend amongst them, right? Like, hey, same thing with sables, you'll start to notice a trend. Same thing with the sable lily whites and fraps, you'll start to notice a trend. And there's plenty of pictures of a normal versus a frap, a normal versus sable lily whites, and you look at it and you're like, okay, I can tell the difference. Some people can't tell the difference, but you know do your homework. I mean, I did that. I still do it for a new something that I when I brought the fires in. Now I'm pairing super fires, so I know in the back of my head everything's going to be all fires. Um, but still, what if I pair this, the fire to this animal? Are you going to be able to tell it apart to darks? Because I heard, sometimes dark fires are hard to tell if it has the fire gene in it and stuff like that. And so, always just, do your homework, ask questions, always ask questions. Hey, do you have any hatch photos? Look on people's page and go scroll back, years until babies come over. Go on Fetal. Fetal, they like to sell a lot of young ones, and so then you can see all the babies and what cappuccinos look like. There's Pangea's website, there's Little Monsters website. All those people, they have articles about them, and they have pictures and all that stuff. And so there are some good resources out there to utilize. And then, pair them, and when you hatch them, take a picture. Sometimes I still take pictures at hatch, especially like phantom caps. I take them picture at hatch because the phantom takes over as they grow and the white disappears. And so whenever I sell something as a phantom cap, I will send them the person the baby picture, the hatchling picture, and be like, hey, look, this is the phantom cap, and this is the clutch mate next to it, and you can tell the difference. And so that's what I would say.
Nice. Any questions on that, Anthony?
Oh, I learned a lot though.
Oh, all right. So now my next thing, so out of all of these different projects, programs that you have, I know we spoke real deep on Dalmatians. Of course, I admire your King Stripe stuff
Mm-hmm.
for sure. I think that's very unique. So I'm gonna touch on it here.
Okay.
What is it? Talk about it.
Okay, so
Tell
King Stripe is a line of super stripe and empty back. I did not dub the term out of the Czech Republic. There is a breeder in the Czech Republic that bred these over the years and introduced super stripe to empty back, and over the years and crossed them, whatever. This is the outcome that he came with. So I took notice some years ago of these, and he called them King Stripe. It's King Stripe line. It's not. It's just a line. People have names for every. I see people name every fucking color a line. It's just a line, a super stripe, and empty back. That's all it is from the Czech Republic. I asked a lot of questions, so all I can do is go off the questions. Hey, is it related to any of the super stripe stuff in the United States? No, it's not related to the super stripe stuff. A lot of the animals, though, back in the early 2000s, the United States got animals, but so did Europe got animals, right? So not related to anything of the super stripe stuff in the United States. They did bring in some altitude stuff a few years ago to outcross, because you can only, say you are line breeding, you can only line breed so much, then you got to bring in some stuff. So they did bring some altitude stuff, empty back stuff to cross in there. And so what I have found is the King Stripe, and the King Stripe is the term is coined from the super stripe that goes down the back and it continues around the crown. Because I asked, how'd you come up with the name, right? Do your homework. The crown and the pinning goes up the back, continues around the crown down to the nose. And he said that kind of looked like a crown. So he called it a King Stripe because it kind of looks like a crown. At that time, or most super stripe stuff, it ends at the head, right? The pins typically on the higher end or the higher tier King Stripe stuff, the pins continue to go up around the head and go down to the snout area. And so that's where King Stripe came from, right? And
are people thinking it's a morph? Is what it is?
Some people ask it's a morph.
Got you.
And it's just a line. But what I have found, again, this is just so I brought over a visual, and I brought over some what they're calling, people call empty back or whatever they call it. These are King Stripes, whatever. I brought over a group some years ago, and I paired those together, and I made Mrs. Blizzy. So it was a girl. That was just the name of one of my. And then I have Wonderpeen. He was one of my main males that is Wonderpeen because he got one of his peens chopped off. But he still gets the job done, you know what I mean? So he's Wonderpeen. And so what I have found is at least with that stuff, I know there's a big debate whether, I don't know how the saying goes, but, they're like, empty back is super stripe, or empty back. In my
Oh, yeah,
opinion,
yeah,
with
yeah.
with that stuff, in my opinion, what I'm finding is super stripe and empty back are two different things. The king stripe line holds both. And I've had debates and argument with people. They're like, well, it holds both because you can't have one without the other. I'm like, oh, I get that. All I'm saying is with the stuff from Europe, all the stuff all the empty back stuff in the United States all come from one guy, right? His name is Anthony. Not this Anthony,
Yes.
but they all come from one guy. The super stripe stuff all comes from well, it depends on who you ask. One guy claims that he created it, another guy claims, but anyways, it's all the same within the United States. So in my opinion, that makes sense, and it's all been intermingled over the years. So in my opinion, that makes sense when people say like, oh, well, you can't, when I'm breeding this to this, you're essentially breeding this US person to this US person to this US person. And so, yeah, that makes sense that you would think that the empty back and the super stripe stuff is the same because you're basically breeding the same thing. What I've found from my European stuff that is not the case, right? And so I will pair like my king stripe to super empty backs. I make super empty backs, right? I pair super stripes to the king stripe to super stripe stuff, make super stripe stuff. I have paired the king stripe who holds super stripe to super empty backs, and then I've made those het super stripe, and then I've paired those offspring and made super stripes and empty backs out of those offspring. And so this has been like a 3 or 4 year project that I've been going on. So I believe that the king stripe line holds both empty back and super stripe depending how you use it. And that may make sense to people, may not. Again, I'm not a genetic person. I don't come
Yeah, yeah.
from background or whatever. All I can explain is, hey, this is my finding from my breeding. This is my breeding findings, right? I mean, I've paired super empty backs here, if we want to call them super empty backs, from a US person here and a super empty back from the same person, and then you don't make any super empty backs. You don't make any empty back type stuff, right? So
I was just gonna say it's not. Let's not even get to king stripe. Let's just talk about empty back and super stripe, and there's just so much different information on the two to begin with.
there's so much information. And again, I was talking to my good friend Heather at Leyline Exotics about this the other day. Is that I still don't think we fully understand empty back and super stripe and with the terminology and the information that's given out there, because in theory, if you have a super EB paired to a super EB, why are you making fully patterned animals? And it's not a mistake. I've had that, she's had that, right? And so I don't think we fully quite understand what is going on with that, with some of the terminology, that's going on. So, I know some lines that don't, like that one I've paired. I got a super EB male and female from one breeder, and I paired those together and I didn't get nothing. And I paired them to other stuff and I didn't get nothing. So I'm like, those aren't what they're labeled as. They look like it, but they're not what they label as. It may be something else. I don't know. And then I moved on. From those. So I still think there's still some work to put in, and also changing terminology. I mean, people can't even agree what phantom is still. So, but
Some of the
work in
that's but
project.
that's why I have the attitude of I listen to everything and I feel like nothing is definitive, because if the master genetics people cannot agree on what something is, then how are you and I going to argue about
Mm-hmm.
what something is? You get what I'm saying? We're
Yeah.
not putting out documentaries of what genetics are. So
Yeah.
why are we gonna the most we could do is just continue to share. Another thing I wanted to, are you by chance pairing any empty back, super empty back, head empty back, super stripes, whatever, to lily whites? Are you working with that?
Not I've went to the direction of not normal lilies, but I've made like super stripe fraps, super stripe sables. I took them in like
Yes.
the morph direction is what I did. When I didn't have when I have a lot of lilies, but I don't think I've paired, I think plenty of people make plenty of outstanding lily whites, and at that time when I was like, I don't want to just make lilies just to make lilies. There's plenty of people that are making nice lilies, and so what I decided to do with my lilies is take them into caps, stables, and all that stuff. And not everyone is coming out of fraps, so you have, you know, the end product. You have some normal lilies out of that stuff. But what I did do is I took super stripe and empty back to cappuccino, frappuccino, and sable lily and stuff like that. And I like that look, stuff like that. So I've made some nice super stripe red super stripe frappuccinos um, that turn out real nice. I
Mm.
brought in a super stripe frap from Korea, and it came from super stripe lines already, and then I paired that. So I made some nice um, super stripe stuff like that. And of course, I'm getting lily whites out of all that stuff because you don't get all 100%, fraps and stuff. You get normal lilies out of it too. So that's how ending up with, excuse me, no, normal lily whites.
We were Anthony and I was talking about that because it's just hard to decide whether they're empty back or super stripe. I can never be definitive on it. I don't know how to exactly say
On
it's
the
an empty
lilies,
back or, yeah, on the lilies. So we was going back and forth with it. He has some that he works with. I don't want to throw it out there. I know you keeping it top secret, Anthony, but you know it's just confusing because of all of this. It's
mhm,
head empty back, it's a super empty back,
yeah.
that's why I asked you.
So it can get more confusing too, and I would say it all depends on the lineage of the animals, if they're empty back or not. So I'll get people to be like, "Hey, this is empty back?" And I'm like, "Hey, let me see the parents." I'm like, "No, that's not empty back. That animal just got reduced pattern on its dorsal. That doesn't mean it's going to recreate the empty back look. It's just not all Dalmatians are super spotty. Not all animals get a lot of pattern on their back. They'll get reduced pattern. So I would say it depends on the lineage of the animals, and if they have empty back somewhere in there that's popping up. Um, and also with lily white, since the lily white, the dorsals tend to be thick with that lateral, that's why it's hard to disrupt the the pattern on the back. And so if you're pairing it to a super EB, you're probably, and it's to a normal lily, you're probably getting a het EB lily white, um, and that and you can see that. I know what you're talking about. You can see that pattern disruption in there, and it kind of looks super stripy, but that's just because that thick lily white dorsal is on there, and that's as much that it is that empty back is clearing up, in my opinion. And if you take
Yeah.
that and you pair that next generation, you pair that to something, that's gonna fucking clear up a lot. There's even a lot of confusion. I know AC has put out a lot of stuff like, hey, this can confuse people even more. Like, hey, this is a super empty back, but you look at the pattern and it's still a lot of thick pattern in there. But he's saying that's super empty back, but it's because of the animal is like a really creamy or thick cream base pattern animal, so it's harder to disrupt that. Um, which I think is confusing. You either use the term full clear out of the back, or you don't. It can confuse people. But I know he's put out some information on that too. So yeah, I definitely would hold on to those. Now I do know pairing with fraps and stuff that the empty back on the back on lilies will clear out and you will just have the pins. So I've made super empty back and super stripe fraps, which is basically lilies. And so it will clear out, but it's going to take your next generation, grow those out, then pair that back to super stripe or empty back or whatever the lineage of that was, and that will clear out even more. So it's just the lily white, that thick lily white pattern is just hard to disrupt.
Very interesting. That it's an ongoing topic that I feel could just be talked about and there's a lot of it's but I find that fun. Like, even if we could get a board of 10 different people here to talk about it, I find it fun and interesting, like all the variations and all the differences, to come to a conclusion one day. But I think that's going to be years of people, like AC put out his stuff, but as time goes on, even with the caps, you're going to be pairing it with different things and finding out different things and evolving as time goes on. So it's just never definitive, and it's ever evolving. That's what's fun about breeding. No?
Yeah, it's ever evolving,
Whites with clear, distinct runways right down the middle of their back. I just don't know if it's an empty back or a super stripe or whatever, so I don't say shit and don't show anybody, but they're clearly.
And the other parent is not.
No, they are. All my animals, I hate to say, I don't want to say hate to say it, but when I first did this, I bought like 200 hatchlings from AC. And that's what all my animals come from, other than whatever I picked and choosed over the years and paired certain animals, and obviously brought in my lily whites and stuff. But for a lot of years, all my animals are in. I mean, even to now, they're all in house. Every animal I have right now that I'm working with is probably like third or fourth generation, other than these caps, third or fourth generation animals that I made, so
so there's probably a lot of empty back in there. AC stuff has a lot of empty back, and a lot of people have empty back. So like Emily Burke stuff, a lot of stuff from Chase at Zengex and stuff, they have a lot of empty back in their tricolors. I know Emily does. They're not like trying to produce that, but you can tell and you can identify that I'm like, I wonder if that's fucking empty back. And then I pair that, and then you make that. And so a lot of it's hidden and stuff.
You ever notice the equal signs on the tail? It's always like a dead ringer for me. You have two equal dashes
going down,
top of the tail. Right at the top of the tail, though. Not all of them have it, but in my collection, 90% of them will have like an equal sign right at the top of the tail, just two dashes. I could tell right away. Empty back, boom. It's not even a question. Right when they hatch, two distinct dashes at the top of the tail, kind of like how the caps would have the V thing. These are almost like a telltale marker that I'll send you a picture one day. You'll see.
Yeah,
and a lot of
people noticed it over the years.
People have noticed it. People are like, yeah, it's EB.
Yeah, there's been talk of markers. Same thing with the empty backs and het empty backs. Like some of the hets, people have noticed. Oh, there's like a V on the back of the dorsal and stuff like that. And send me a picture. I think that'd be interesting. I'd like to take a look at it.
Blank base. I've seen what people consider their markers, but these dashes is, let's just say that everyone that has the dashes is an empty back for, hands down. Everyone that has a double dash is an empty back. But you'll see.
Yep.
And
Yeah, and you'll
see.
know your collection. You'll know your collection the best if you're
Other
eyeing
people have
something and
noticed
you're
it.
noticing.
Other people have, I don't want to say validated my observations, but they've noticed the same thing, and it's again, it's nothing I've really put attention to. I never tried to make these things. They were just things that popped up over the years that were clearly already there that I just over time started trying to put together to see if I could refine it more. But they were never really like any of my, it wasn't my, my goal per se.
Gotcha.
So what's next for white tanks, man? Like what are you super excited about? 2026, 2027?
Man, I'm vending a whole bunch of shows. I would say that I'm vending the most shows that I've ever vended. I'm going to attend a lot of shows. By myself. I kind of ride solo these days, and so attending. I think I'm doing 5 or 6 Arizona shows. I'm gonna do 2 California shows vending. I'm going to go out, so I'm going to be going to Pomona again, Anaheim. I'm going to Tinley in October. I'm going to go to St. Louis, the NARBC St. Louis. I think that's in November. My goal this year is to get out, mingle with other like-minded people across the country. I want to get out to Florida and go to Daytona. I want to check out some of the larger East Coast shows and all that stuff. And so that is like my biggest thing, like personally that I'm doing this year. I want to travel a lot and go hang out with people. As far as breeding plans, I would say this is going to be, I know I would say one thing. I know everyone's worried about the market or whatever. I'm I don't I don't worry about that. I would say this is probably going to be my largest year ever. I'm introducing the biggest group of high coverage, high white, what I would consider like paper white type and nice tricolor groups is going to be this year. That's biggest that I've always had, a handful of tricolor type stuff throughout the years, but this year is a big year, a big push of that, doing my dark stuff and then incorporating some new morphs that are exciting. The fire super fire stuff, the marble, and then the pied stuff that you see all over Korea. And I believe there are some, I think is it Dixie Reptiles that has some pied stuff that they're working out, and I think they're out of Texas or something like that. But so that's exciting for me. But yeah, I think this is gonna be my largest year, and I'm excited for it. And I'm not tired of the hobby yet. I'm not like worried or, I try to stay positive and, I still enjoy the geckos. I still clean, in the gecko room every single day. Uh, so yeah, that's kind of
That's
me
fun.
going
That's fun.
forward is
Don't get tired, man. You do amazing stuff. Don't get tired. We can't wait. I personally, out of the fire, the marbling, I really like those pies, man. I think those are freaking cool. I like the marbling, I like the fire, but those pies, I don't know. They look cool to me.
yeah,
So
it's definitely interesting. And I would definitely say like burnout is real. But in order to navigate burnout is try to make your setup and your group as efficient as possible, you know. Um, I mean, efficiency is key, you know, how long it takes to do stuff, throw away feeding bowls versus washing feeding bowls versus, you know, what you're putting in the enclosures and food bowls and all that stuff. All that is taken years to learn out, but I mean, I can feed my entire collection of 2,000 plus geckos in like an hour and a half, 2 hours, just me. Um, or if I have my daughter helps out a lot, we can knock it out, man. We just she starts. I use throwaway food bowls, and she's a ton of help, man. We get on a system and she goes in front of me, I go behind, and it's just like bam 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 bam. Uh, you know, don't get me wrong, I used to spend hours and I don't really hand feed anymore. You know, I don't do any of that crap, but I used to. I did that for a long time. But yeah, efficiency is key. Trying to get efficient, that helps from burnout. Um, you know, on top of a career plus dad life and all that stuff. So it's fun.
Yeah,
Haven't
yeah.
got burned. Haven't. I've been burnt out in the past. You know, and then you find ways to improve your speed, and then without cutting corners, and then I had that hiccup with drama and shit like that, but other than that, I have not gotten tired yet. There's no been like I don't know where I'm gonna like I don't know if I'm gonna do this like next year or anything like that. Like I don't know. Like right now, I have no plans of stopping, but who knows what can happen, in the future.
It's never a given, but we hope you're doing it next year. Um, also just real quick, because I know you're on all social media platforms and things like
Hmm.
that. I'm seeing you do some really cool stuff on Palm Street. Like what's in the future for Palm Street? I know you're bringing people on, you're bringing guests. You have your days that you're selling, you have your days that you're talking. You're like doing a kind of a your own podcast, so to speak, you know?
Yeah, so I want to part of, taking a next step of for like my mind and stuff. Again, getting out of my comfort zone, talking to people, you know, I want to bring people on and, whatever, if you want to call it a platform or whatever little platform I have, I want to bring other people on that I can talk to and get their perspective on things and maybe challenge me a little bit. Like there's people that I talk to all the time that disagree with me and I disagree with them and show that that's okay to have a disagreement with somebody else that's in the hobby. You you do what works well with you. Yes, I'm on Palm Street. I typically do my sales on Fridays. I try to do twice a month, every other. Sometimes I'll do every week. It all depends on my work schedule. And then I started doing these things where I'll bring somebody on and I started with Leyline. I think she's great and very smart and brings a very educated and talented aspect to the hobby. And then I brought on Kristen and to talk about the pixel stuff because I don't work with pixel, and so I typically don't like to talk about stuff that I don't. Somebody asks me about pixel or something, I'll be like, I don't know. Yeah, I think that's pixel. I typically don't like to comment on anything that I don't know about, right? I don't want to go spreading rumors that I don't know. So, hey, let's bring on, somebody that knows about pixel and's been doing it a while. And so wasn't, not a, an every week thing, just trying to pick out some people who I feel that can contribute to the hobby in a positive way. And, if people I kind of like the live thing and people can ask questions and we can kind of joke around and stuff. And so, yeah, it was just something I'm trying just to take up. I gotta I got some home time availability with some personal stuff going on, and so taking up some time at night and trying to go on and and talk with some people and all that stuff. But yeah, I still am on I haven't uploaded in a while, but on I still have Morph Market. And then yeah, Instagram. Instagram's probably the best form of communication to try to get to me, ask questions sometimes, or a lot of times as of late, I'm a little bit delayed or behind answering questions or responding to people. Um, because of work or personal things going on, but I try to respond back as soon as I can. Or sometimes I feel bad because it's been a while. I'm like, oh fuck, out of nowhere. I'm like, I forget I haven't responded to so and so, and then I just feel like a total dick, and then I just like, well, I'm not gonna respond. So.
Oh yeah. Are you planning on doing Morph Market lives?
I don't know. I've kind of looked at the thing. I think right now is you can do like wasn't it like once a month right now, and then it's gonna go to the premium membership only, where that's like I don't know how much that is a year. It's like freaking you got to pay like the $900,000 a year or something like that. And so for right now, it doesn't. And they charge by hour, so it's which isn't bad, right? So the fees is $5 a show. I've looked into it, so $5 a show and $10 an hour. So if you do a 4 hour show and you do some good sales, I mean you're only paying $45 like fee. So that's not bad compared to other platforms' fees. You have to with Morph Market, you have to go collect the money still and go chase that down and do all that stuff. But for me at this point, um, the once a month deal, the once a month, I know the once a month isn't, you know, worth fully swapping over, and I don't know if eventually, because I know like Palm Street, for instance. Like it says in their terms of service that you're not allowed to like be on Whatnot or any other like live auction platform, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so they can kick you off. So at this Morph Market right now is a bet in a beta state. They're testing it out. They're seeing how it's going. Um, am I open to it in the future? Of course, I'm open to anything. But at this point, I'm probably gonna stick to Palm Street. I don't like the fees. Palm Street takes a shit ton of fees, but you know, it it is what it is. You don't have to leave your house. Uh, I like to put on like a show, and I spend usually an hour fucking bullshitting with people before I even show fucking geckos, and then we chill and all that stuff. And so I like to, do more than here's my gecko, buy it. That's just how I like to do it. I probably spend too long of time on there. I should get to the point more often. But I don't know. I like chit chatting.
It's
So right
fun.
now,
It's fun.
still sticking with Palm Street lives, and then doing the in-person shows. Like I think I probably got seven shows between California and Arizona lined up this year.
Nice.
Awesome. You're gonna drive to them all?
Yeah, everything's drivable, yeah. Except the like I'm gonna attend like Tinley, all that shit's in Chicago. That
Daytona.
obviously all that is just attending. Yeah, that would be flying.
When you come to Daytona this August, you'll be flying in.
Yeah, it's in August.
Yeah,
Oh,
get in there, man.
I may, I
Get
may.
in there.
So I'll have to check how much how my travel. Everything is evolved around my work schedule. So as long as I'm not working or like we have an overtime list and I'm high on the overtime list and working a lot that week, or there's not a kid, some of my kids have some sort of function going on, then that's what's hindered me in the past going to stuff. Is I've always been working that week. And so if I'm working that weekend, I do shift rotation. So sometimes we work weekends and we work nights and stuff like that. And so if I'm making a lot of overtime, my career and job comes first. And so if I'm making a lot of overtime with my regular career, then I won't go attend shows or even bend shows. And so I think this year we get our schedule for the whole year, and I was looking at my schedule, and it's pretty open for a lot of the time slots and slots. So I'm like, yeah, I can go to that, I can go to that, I can go to that. And so, yeah, I'll be attending a lot of stuff and, trying to connect with people and hanging out with them.
Cool. Yeah, it's August 15th through the 16th. Just FYI. That way
Okay,
you could
yeah, I'll take a look.
keep it in the yeah. Anything you want to put out there or discuss that we haven't talked about? Like maybe we missed something, we didn't touch on something, and you want to talk about it or ask a question or say something specific?
Who, me?
No, Andrew.
Oh, I thought you were talking to me. I'm like, what?
You. If you have something to say, you're gonna say it.
Yeah, no, I think we've touched a little bit of everything about my past, all that stuff. I'm open to I'm open to chat anytime. Again, sometimes it can be a little bit laggy, but yeah, man, I just
Bullshit
I
at
just
home,
say
people.
yeah. And so yeah, I would just say, breed what you guys like, keep the drama out of that, and out, and better mental space, and they'll make your hobby time more enjoyable. Don't Anthony said, or Mark said earlier, like, can't worry about the market right now. It's not gonna fucking change anything like that. Like don't worry about that shit. I try to believe, like, all that stuff will work its way out how it's supposed to, and everything works out for a reason and stuff like that. So that's kind of what motto I live by.
What's up? You froze.
I
Is that
froze?
me? Oh yeah, he's
No,
freezing.
yeah,
Me?
you're freezing
Good?
on your yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
Um yeah, I
Thank
think it
you,
was
man.
an amazing thing. What, anything else, Anthony? We're 3.5 hours in.
No.
I know we try to keep it at an hour. These long ones, people don't really like to watch the long ones. I know
Not
that.
everyone has an interesting collection of
Yeah.
these type of things. It's not
Yeah.
often we get to talk to people that have $30,000 pied morphs. It's interesting.
Hey, 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 there's different levels to the game. Everybody's in different.
Someone's doing it right. Someone is shit. That's awesome.
And
That's a
and
We
I
should
I
we
didn't
should
I
have.
didn't I didn't I didn't pay that. I got it out I got it at a still. I would just say it helps being kind and courteous to fellow people within the hobby, no matter who they are, because you never know when someone, might scratch your back one day. So I'll say, I
being
got hooked
courteous
up a
in
little
life
bit.
to people. People should apply it to life, let alone the hobby.
Yes. Yeah. In life, you know. No one's better than you. You're not better than anyone else. Treat people equally with respect, and and
Facts.
be good, and do good, and good will happen to you.
It's awesome. Good for
That was
you. I'm glad
also
you got it, dude. Good for you. I'm glad someone like you has these opportunities. Some people get stuff. I mean, I ain't gonna say no names. We did a podcast one day. A guy had a blessing to work with this species of animals, and he was literally uber vocal about not telling people and sharing the information. It's like, I don't want people to have the information. I don't want people to go out and get this species. I'm keeping it all to myself. I want to buy, if any one of these more of these go on the market, I will buy them all. I will refinance my house if I have to buy them. I don't want people working with them. Like, you realize you're live, right? Like, you're live on camera, dude. Like, how do you, you sound right? You sound retarded.
Nonsense. Yeah.
and we're gonna publish every single word for the public to see.
I went in on him live on camera. I went in on him. I was like, "You're corny, dude. Like, who do you think you are? Like, you're corny for that. Like, and not for nothing. You're not even the first person to have it. I'm talking about the New Zealand, the green geckos. The guy was like, I don't want anyone having the information. I'm like, what? Like, what? Okay, I guess. Like,
people like that.
But again, it's cool. Even someone that's not a gatekeeper has these cool things. I mean, that's, from at least from my point of view, that's access to information. You know, I know where to go. I know who to talk to. I know who's observing and making valid observations and doing legit work. I mean, it's a great resource, you know, to have someone like you have these genes. So Mars,
I call him the morph god. I call him the morph god. I watch what he does. I call him the morph god, and he's vocal about what he does, man. I've asked a lot of questions. I've watched a lot of people. You don't get it from a lot of people. You don't get the questions answered. Like you said, people want to hold this information back. At the end of the day, you know, when you're doing something right, you can give out the information. It doesn't mean anything because you're still doing you. Like you at the end of the day, you're still 20 steps ahead of whoever is trying to do what you're doing. So why not help them be successful? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I just tried when I don't know, when I first came in, which isn't that long ago, a lot of people gave me, or gave me the cold shoulder, but there was a few people that been in for a while, still doing it to this day, that were very helpful and told me all the tips, tricks, and everything like that. And I was like, when I grow up, I don't want to be like those other people that are gatekeeping and assholes, and I'm not going to help you, and I'm not going to give you any information or anything like that. It's good to be kind and friendly and all that stuff. So I tell everybody my tips, tricks, stuff. I've had close friends, or I thought was close friends, tell me, hey, you're telling people too much. You shouldn't be telling people where to get that at. I'm like, I fucking found it. They can find it. Like, what does it fucking matter and so I've had people tell me that before, and I'm like, really, you're getting mad because I'm putting out information to help other people, like where to get these, food bowls for Jeep, where to get these, where to get a certain roach, from at very cheap and stuff like that. And I've had people, take issue to that over the years, and I'm not gonna continue to stop.
Is competition as opposed to comrades, right? Like, they don't want more friends, they want less competition. It's, not for nothing, it is ironic as it is, the people that are buying your most expensive animals, like, not that you don't have other customers, but I'd say a huge percentage of these crazy morphs you have are going to other breeders, right? Like, they're going to people that breed, not buying a $20,000 gecko to keep for a pet. I mean, there might be somebody, but it's other breeders that are your biggest customers, man. Like they're the ones that are buying your best animals. Like, don't you want more breeders? More breeders means you got more people to sell your high-end animals to. Like, you're gonna, I guess I'll never figure other people out, but I'm all for the hobby being as big as the cat and dog hobby, to be completely honest, like, and I think it has the potential ultimately, these things fit all age ranges, boys, girls, men, women. They're less work than dogs and cats. There's so many perks to these things that we should all be striving every day to have the reptile hobby as big as the cat and dog hobby. I mean, and they're separated by billions of dollars of annual net sales. Like, we could get there. You could walk into Petco and have 5 reptile aisles and, 20 of them, instead of 50 dog and cat aisles and one designated reptile aisle.
Mhm.
So ending this, one final question for the reptile hobby. If there's one thing that you feel
Lay
as
down.
a whole, what
Lay down.
do you feel should be improved on in the gecko space? Because that's what we're talking, geckos. So what do you feel is one thing that should be more focused on or more improved on? I know there's a lot of things, but just pick one. What would you like to see better in the hobby?
I think what we've just been touching on, just the way that the fellow breeder treats the next breeder, it's yeah, we all have a business, and I guess there's a little bit competition, but don't treat it so much, be nice, be kind, I would say reduce the drama and stay out of the drama and stuff like that. Most of the most successful people that I know in this hobby are totally out of all that drama, and all those drama people aren't very successful, and so yeah, I would say, you know, the drama and all that stuff for me is a big one. I tell people to stay out of that stuff, and educate yourself, educate yourself from multiple people. Don't listen to just one person, and then don't go and spreading, information that you don't know or unsure of because you might have heard from somebody, and so yeah, that would be it, reduce, stay out of the drama, educate yourself, and just enjoy your hobby, and I think you'll have a good time, and uh and fit right in. Look at the puppy.
That's a big puppy over
Yeah.
there.
Well, I
Oh,
appreciate the time, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, dude. Thank you.
yeah,
Uh,
for real. Thank you.
yeah, I feel like
Um,
I could just sit and talk. This is how I do on the lives. I just sit and fucking talk. I could just sit and talk fucking geckos all day long. But
oh
it's cool
man,
to have a common interest. That's why I like going to the shows and stuff, because you were all in this for a reason, and it's all a common interest, and so I think that's great and amazing, you know.
yeah, no, that's what I love about it. Um, that's what I love about it. So hey, we could like I'm the type I could stay here till whatever time,
No, you could.
so
Mark will
just
be here till the sun comes up.
yeah, just talking and talking. So I always try to check myself and make sure, hey, are we good? Is
No,
everybody good?
you
Because
know, it's a sign that you like what you're talking about, right? I mean,
yeah, yeah,
there's nothing wrong with it.
and like what we've always discussed, we like to just keep the platform for the people and let people speak their minds and be unbiased about things and just bring it to light and let you let this is your show, let it air out whatever you want to talk about, ask questions here and there and just get it out there. Now this is not your first podcast. Hopefully it won't be your last, and people get to know Andrew White Tanks Exotics more and more and more and more, as the
Yeah.
years go on. Like it's amazing things you're doing over here, Anthony.
Anthony.
Anthony, for allowing people to use your
Yeah.
platform for these
Yeah.
things. That's
Appreciate it,
For the
Anthony.
people. It's for the people.
Yeah.
Right? Got too tired of too many people ignoring what other people had to say. You don't got to agree with them to be a kind human and listen to them, right? People deserve to talk. This is fucking America, ain't it? Like, I don't got to
Yeah.
like what you have to say, but you should have a place to say it. As
Yeah,
long as you're not attacked.
I like how you guys bring, people on, from all aspects of life, and I've
It's
always
a
had
hobby.
you know, bring the. I've always said too, if I'll never do a podcast, right? But if I was to ever do a podcast, I would say, man, I'm gonna bring the good, the bad, the ugly, everybody on, and
Everybody.
let them voice their opinion, because there's all this fucking yapping going on about this person, but he's never explained himself. So like, you know, so yeah, I like that you guys are doing that. Bring them all on.
Appreciate that.
That's
We sure will.
that's the one thing that I've always said. I'm unbiased. That when it comes to the podcast, I want everybody to come on. Talk your talk. Like, if I don't like the Mets, I'm gonna say I don't like the Mets. I want you to come on and tell me why you like the Yankees. Hey, you you know what I'm saying? Talk
Yeah.
about it. It doesn't have to be that go get your swords and let's have a sword fight. But talk about it. Let's see both. I feel the public deserves to hear both sides of every story.
It's only fair.
Absolutely. Yep.
You know, and I'm done on that part. Anything else?
That's it. Monsterbox.us. Check it out. Rack systems are in the country. Get them when we got them.
Ooh.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate the time.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Andrew. Hang on 1 second after I end this just to make sure everything
Okay.
uploaded.